This video is sponsored by Aura. Hey SmugStick, it's everyone, and yes, I do that on purpose, Mr. Commenter. Today I have the full story of what if Super Buu was good. This story revolves around one specific moment in time, the battle between Majin Buu and Pure Evil Buu. In the original story, the Grey Buu bounced back a candy beam, absorbing Fat Buu and turning into Super Buu. But what if it happened the other way around, and that transformation happened within the body of the good Majin Buu? This was an incredibly fun story to make, and I hope you guys enjoy. But first, a message from today's video sponsor. Our heroes may be training to defeat some technology. They can burst their auras open and push them away, but the rest of us, we're quite vulnerable in comparison. We need a different kind of aura. This is where the sponsor of today's video comes in, Aura. You may have heard that there was a recent AT&T data leak where over 73 million of people's data was breached. And while changing your password may be a good start, you'll want to make sure that things like this never happen again, such as with Aura's VPN. But their online protection goes well beyond that, such as scouring the web to check where your personal information and data could have been leaked, password manager, identity theft monitoring, parental controls, and more. If you'd like to try Aura, then use the link on the screen or in the description below, aura.com/SmugStick, for a 14-day free trial in order to keep yourself safe. Thanks again to Aura, and let's get back to the video. We open up in the battle between Majin Buu and Pure Evil Buu, and this is where our biggest change comes in. Instead of Fat Buu being turned into chocolate, he bounces back the candy beam, actually overwhelming his skinny gray counterpart. Pure Evil Buu is turned into chocolate, and Fat Buu takes slow steps towards him, picking him up and eating him. Fat Buu begins steaming as Mr. Satan looks at him terrified, watching Majin Buu transform. The whole area is enveloped by steam as Mr. Satan approaches the monster with fear in his eyes. As the steam begins to dissipate, Mr. Satan notices that Majin Buu looks different. He no longer has a cape, and instead he stands tall, clearly more powerful than ever before. But while Super Buu stands there, he ramps up his power, screaming at the top of his lungs that he is hungry. Mr. Satan is confused. Was he still his friend or not? He carefully offers up some food as Super Buu turns his head and smiles. Buu likes Mr. Satan's food. The champ relaxed. He looked stronger, but he was still cheery and goofy. Meanwhile, from the lookout, Piccolo gulped. He still wasn't sure if this Buu really was a good guy or not. He was clearly changing because of Mr. Satan, but they had to stop him one way or the other. So he continued to train Goten and Trunks. At the same time, Gohan continued his training to get potential unleashed, but hours continued to pass, and Goten and Trunks eventually mastered the fusion. Gohan even completed his ritual, yet Buu never attacked. The old Kai and Shin insisted that they needed to take care of him, but even Goku was a little confused. Maybe he did turn a new leaf. Even so, Gotenks was tired of waiting. He wanted to prove that he could really take on Buu. So, after one last time of practicing the fusion, Gotenks, as a Super Saiyan, burst towards Buu's home as Piccolo tried to stop him. Mr. Satan tried to stop the situation. He did recognize the golden hair as that of the one who defeated Cell. He even tried to convince himself that it was all a trick, but he also tried to convince them that Buu was actually not a bad guy. Gotenks didn't believe it and instantly attacked Buu. It was an all-out brawl, but this Super Buu wasn't being cruel or sadistic like the original. Instead, he was just having fun. He even admired some of Gotenks' crazy moves and tried to take a bite out of the galactic donut. The annoyed Gotenks even came to the point of saying that a true hero would avenge everyone killed by Buu, showing off his Super Saiyan 3. Shin thought that Gotenks could actually beat Buu, but everyone else stayed quiet, because this Buu was completely different from the one they feared. Goku stood up and said that he thinks Buu was really changed for the better by Mr. Satan, and that he thinks they should maybe stop Gotenks. The old Kai thinks he's crazy, but Gohan continues to watch the fight. He thinks that his father is right. Gohan stands and tells Kibito that he is ready to go to Earth. Thankfully, the ritual to unlock Ultimate was finally done, and Kibito agrees to teleport him in. Gohan instantly bursts towards the battle site, as Gotenks is about to fire a great blast at Super Buu that would instantly end him. Just then, Gohan appears before the fusion and tells him to slow down, that he hasn't been listening nor sensing Buu. It seemed like the battle Buu had against his other self had really quenched the evil. Gotenks argued otherwise, even while Mr. Satan told him to please listen. But as they argued, a piece of Buu shot out from him and onto Gotenks, consuming him and absorbing. Gohan tried to stop him and burst out his aura, ready to fight. Maybe he really had been wrong about Buu. It had been a long time since Buu absorbed the evil Buu. So much time, in fact, that we are at the point where Gohan gets absorbed in the original. Thus, Vegeta actually arrives on Earth with Uranai Baba, ready to help Gotenks against Super Buu. But instead he found Gohan fighting a Gotenks-absorbed Buu. Vegeta rushed in to help, but as the trio get ready to clash one last time, Mr. Satan ran in front of Buu holding B. He yelled at Buu to stop this, that although fighting is fun, gaining advantage because he absorbed some poor kid's power is not good. He is being very bad, and he won't get any more sweets if he keeps this up. These guys are trying to kill him. Vegeta wanted to just attack, but Gohan held him back. Buu looked at them with a scowl. He then began to steam out as he released Gotenks from himself. Buu apologized and said that he was just having fun and needed more power. He was just hungry anyways. It was weird to Mr. Satan. This Buu was clearly smarter than before, and despite his explosive temper, he still listened to him and cared more about having fun. Vegeta couldn't believe it, but his thought was cut short when Gotenks defused and Trunks ran to hug him. From the lookout and the Kaioshin realm, Goku and Piccolo sighed in relief. It looks like Mr. Satan maybe really had changed Buu for the better. Buu wasn't extremely thrilled to fight anymore, he was mostly just hungry, and there was plenty of desert for him to turn into candy. Gohan and Vegeta were still a little unsure, keeping an eye on Buu the whole time, but they had other things to do now. They needed to revive everyone and restore Earth. But the Dragon Balls had recently been used earlier to revive those killed by Majin Vegeta. That's when Goku thought of the Namekian Dragon Balls, getting the help of King Kai to help them communicate with them. The Namekians had already gathered them just in case Buu's attacks got worse, and were more than happy to help their Earthling brethren. The first wish was used to restore the planet to normal, and the second to revive those killed by Buu. Even Vegeta's halo disappeared. The final wish was to make those civilians forget about these events. Now, let me stop here for a second. Some people would argue that without the Spirit Bomb and the fusion, that Vegeta's soul would still be evil. But either way, Bulma and Trunks would have wanted to revive Vegeta, so the final wish would have been used for it. And later, the Dragon Balls on Earth would have been used to erase the memories of Buu. So this is just a little cleaner. With Buu remaining on Earth, Satan is reunited with Videl as he introduces everyone to Super Buu. They're all terrified, but Gohan promises them that he will make sure he remains in control. At least for now, he seems like a good guy. With that all being said, Goku had one final message for his friends. He was happy to see them all okay, even if he did have to remain in Otherworld. He's going to keep training, and is sure that he will see them once again when they all die. But there is one thing they can do. The Kaioshin has let him remain in the Supreme Kai world for now, and he is willing to allow visitors. In particular, he really wants to see what this new Buu is made of, since he never got to fight him, as well as Gohan, Gotenks, and Vegeta. The Z fighters are all happy, and they actually do get to have a picnic at the Kaioshin realm, all together to celebrate. It was a little bittersweet, and in the end, Kibito teleported everyone back home, and Goku had to stay. But when they returned, Bulma realized that Vegeta didn't come. She shook her head with a smile, as she knew Vegeta and Super Buu had both stayed behind to have a real fight and train with Goku. Mr. Satan stayed too, just in case Buu got a little too crazy. It was an incredible fight, and something they would routinely do from then on. Their power really skyrocketed, and even Buu got a better appreciation of all the different fighters, copying various techniques and learning more, and so peace had returned. Buu could still be a problem. If the chef ever messed up his cakes at Mr. Satan's home, he'd go on rampages, which Gohan, as the great Saiyan man, would have to calm down. But there were a few peaceful years, with Goku inviting Buu, Gohan, Vegeta, Gotenks, and whoever else to train up at the Kaioshin realm. He couldn't leave, and it wasn't very often they could come. But slowly, he started to develop his Super Saiyan 3 even further, and Buu himself continued to grow. Goku wondered what it would be like to train someone like Buu. If only he could have been reborn as some little guy. Well, he would have to make do with this. And so, years passed on by. And so peace did remain. That was until the god of destruction Beerus appeared at the Kaioshin realm. He had recently had a dream about the Super Saiyan god, and heard that a Saiyan lived at the Kaioshin realm. Goku stayed there since it was easier for Vegeta and Buu to get there, and there was more space to fight. Thus, he stayed there more so than at King Kai's. Whis and Beerus appeared while searching for the Super Saiyan god, and were not impressed with base Goku. Even Super Saiyan 1 and 2 were nothing. Super Saiyan 3, however, actually made Beerus pause. Goku had focused on this form, as the stamina drain wasn't a big deal with his dead body. The constant training against Buu with it made it really impressive, and Beerus was amused when Goku actually managed to land a punch. He was lucky to already be dead, and friends with the Kaioshin. Otherwise, he would have erased him right then and there. But clearly, it wasn't the Super Saiyan god. Beerus resigned to go to Earth, where Bulma's party was going down. Vegeta retained peace for as long as he could, but Buu is still Buu. Despite getting told to be on his best behavior and being a little smarter, he is also a beast of nature. He had already eaten most of the pudding and refused to share. Gohan and Vegeta both run his way to try and stop him from doing anything stupid, but it's too late. He is eager to fight. If he was making Vegeta so scared, surely he was strong, and the stronger they are, the tastier they will be. Beerus and Buu clash overhead, with Super Buu himself impressing the god of destruction. The people of Earth sure are interesting. No wonder Buu was capable of so much destruction. In fact, Beerus was sure that he could sense God Ki within him. Unlike the original, where the godly power of the Grand Kaioshin mostly went to Kid Buu, all of it remained within Super Buu. At this point, it was clear to everyone that he had no choice but to battle. What they didn't expect was that Buu didn't want the others to interfere. This was actually fun. Beerus was severely holding back, and was more so curious about this guy. As slowly, Beerus began to realize, not only thanks to the God Ki within Buu, but things he heard from the Kaioshin, that this pink monster nearly killed Shin, and by extension, almost killed Beerus. As the fight intensified, Buu was punched down to the ground, with Beerus threatening him with destruction. Suddenly, however, a piece of Buu jumped at Beerus from behind. His aura alone was enough to stop it, but it wasn't the only piece. Pieces of Buu tried to absorb several of the Z fighters, as he had left portions of himself scattered through the battlefield. This included 18, Tien, Gohan, and Piccolo. Gohan yelled at him to stop, but it was too late. Buu was getting desperate, and was sure that if only he had a little bit more power, he'd be able to overcome Beerus. Not realizing that the god was hiding his true strength, the fight resumed, with Beerus laughing at the absurdity. He could gain powers from his allies like that? Not very nice, is it? But Buu's power did increase, even if just a little bit, and he pulled out his best. He made sure to utilize 18's infinite stamina to abuse the Tri-Beam over and over again, trying to predict where Beerus would be. From Gohan's incredible potential to Piccolo's battle tactics, they were all at full display. Beerus couldn't believe that this kind of monster had been living on Earth. It reminded him of another pink video game character he knew, using his friend's abilities like that. Beerus was having fun, but it was time to stop, appearing behind Buu and knocking him down. Before Buu could recover, everyone stopped in front of him and told him to stop, and to release their friends. He can't just be absorbing people like that. Buu was angry, but also fearful. With Piccolo within him, he actually understood the kind of threat Beerus imposed. The god of destruction began creating a giant key ball behind him. He said that if that's the best they've got, surely no Super Saiyan god lived here. That's when Goku's voice was heard. Goku was talking to them with the help of King Kai, telling them that they should ask Shenron about the Super Saiyan god, and agreed that Buu needed to behave. Buu growled, but Mr. Satan's plea finally convinced him as he released the absorbed warriors. Shenron Shenron revealed to them the God ritual, but immediately they ran into a problem. They didn't have enough Saiyans. Whis asked about the Saiyan from the Kaioshin realm, but he was already dead, wasn't he? Upon hearing this from the crystal ball, the old Kai instantly grabbed Goku, telling him that if they don't do something, that Beerus' anger will only rise. They've been the universe's defenders so far, so if everyone dies, then who knows what could happen? Without asking, the old Kai gave Goku his life, so he could return to Earth and complete the God ritual. They were all happy to have Goku back, with Chi-Chi, Gohan, and Goten crying tears of joy, in addition to the revelation that Videl is pregnant. Vegeta was the one chosen as the head of the ritual. Beerus was already impressed by Goku before, so why not give Vegeta a chance? He was the Saiyan who was actually alive. Unlike Goku's fight, which takes him to space, Vegeta faces Beerus deep within the Earth's core. The battle reaches a critical moment, his moves a dazzling display of power and speed. However, as the fight intensifies, Vegeta's control over the Saiyan God form begins to wane. His connection to this new power was still unstable, and he began to lose it. As the red aura fades, Vegeta finds himself reverting to base, his godly power slipping away, surrounded by molten lava and the immense pressure of the Earth's core. His body battered, but his spirit unbroken. As Beerus prepares to launch what could be the final strike, Vegeta reflects upon his journey. He remembers his past obsession with surpassing Goku, how it consumed him, his every action driven by the need to be the best, the strongest. Yet here, in the face of certain defeat, Vegeta realizes that his motivations have shifted. It's no longer about being better than Kakarot. He fights for his family, Bulma, Trunks, and for the friends he's made along the way, though he would never admit it out loud. This realization reignites his will to fight, not to prove that he's the best, but to protect those he loves. Summoning every ounce of strength within his Saiyan pride, Vegeta powers up back into Super Saiyan God. In the final desperate move, Beerus and Vegeta rush at each other, fists pull back, full of energy. All the lava around them becomes completely still. As they clash fists, all of Earth begins to shake violently. Surely the world could be destroyed if this goes on. Lava explodes from below and surrounds them, as finally, with one last scream, to grab Beerus' arm with his other hand and slam him back down into the lava. But that was as far as Vegeta got, as he ran out of Super Saiyan God and fell into the lava himself. But instead of actually reaching it, Beerus rose from it, holding onto the prince. It was obvious to Beerus now just how different the prince was to his father. Things really had changed for the Saiyans. Thus, Beerus decides to spare Earth just for a little while, impressed by the many fighters and the fact that he found another whose hunger rivaled his own. He looked at Buu as he was about to leave, telling him to behave himself, and that someday he'll come to him for meals, since he now knew Buu could turn whatever he wanted into food. If only Beerus had that ability, how he would trade it for Hakai any day. And so, once again, peace returned. It's been a few years since Beerus threatened Earth, and ever since then, Goku and Vegeta have been going to his planet to train under Whis' tutelage. Buu ended up going under a deep slumber for a while. Having eaten all those people at once really made him tired. But he finally learned not to absorb people without asking first, a lesson Mr. Satan really tried to instill in him, along with Gohan. But there was a positive to come out of it. It seemed like Buu having absorbed so many people actually did make him a little smarter, so his rampages through Satan City have become less frequent. Not like the people of Earth really care. They all think this is just a stunt show, and that Mr. Satan hired the great Saiyaman to fight the villain of the week. Whis often asks Buu to come over to Beerus' planet. He's a great asset to help Goku and Vegeta train, without them fighting each other all the time. Plus, they always get a nice meal afterwards. Beerus is still unsure how he feels about the monster, and doesn't really let him come over often. Buu himself prefers to sleep, and this was life. Until sometime later, Buu has continued to live peacefully on Earth. It's fun to eat and play with his friends. Buu is one of the most versatile fighters, despite being eclipsed by the power of the Super Saiyan gods. His training with Goku and the others through the ages has really evolved him greatly. Even so, he does sleep quite often. Whis even likes to bring Buu around as a test for Goku and Vegeta every now and then. Them working together against a near indestructible opponent is a great check-in. Even so, Buu mostly spends time at home. He goes by Gohan's house when Satan is busy, and enjoys playing with Pan, even if he did think she was a loaf of bread once. One of these many times while Buu was playing video games and Piccolo takes care of Pan, the Z fighters perk up. There was something incoming, a large mass of power which didn't really impress Buu. He didn't think it felt that powerful. Gohan sighed. He had been lacking in training lately, and now he's behind even Buu. He needs to keep his head in the game in case things happen, and things were indeed happening. As the Frieza Force spaceship landed, the Emperor had been revived. While Gohan and Piccolo discussed what this could be, Buu had already fallen asleep. With Mr. Satan trying to shake him awake, Super Buu just mumbled that you should subscribe, until he finally woke up. Prior to leaving, Bulma asked Buu if he could turn a random rock into a wonderful dessert, so she can try to call down Whis, Vegeta, and the others. Buu refused at first, because he wanted to eat it for himself, but Gohan insisted that he would have a lot more to eat if they won this battle. A city was destroyed, Earth was in trouble. Gohan and Piccolo instantly hurried out there, while Buu's stomach growled. They promised that he would get to eat at some point. Once there, the various fighters arrived. They were glad to see Buu and Gohan. Even if Vegeta and Goku were out there somewhere, at least they had Buu. As Frieza made himself known and the Frieza Force soldiers rushed out, Buu's stomach continued to growl. Frieza was surprised to see Majin Buu. He was one of the only people his father warned him to never rival. The other was Beerus, but Frieza was sure of his incredible abilities, and he had nothing to worry about, commanding his forces forward. But it was over as soon as it began. The Z fighters were taking down soldiers left and right, but Buu just saw a sea of candy. Rising up to the sky, Majin Buu fired a massive candy beam that covered the entire area. Krillin had to jump out of the way, not the first time, since Buu said he looked like a tasty chestnut, but everyone else was safe, as Buu avoided his friends. All of the Frieza soldiers dropped to the ground as candy, which Buu instantly began to eat. It was quite disturbing for everyone, but the Z fighters played it off better than Frieza, who actually looked terrified. Looks like he will have to finish things off quickly. Gohan and the others got into their battle stances, while Buu just continued to eat in the background. Frieza smirked, saying that they've clearly gotten insanely strong ever since their last battles. Gohan is still definitely stronger than in the original, thanks to having dealt with Buu, but he still feels inadequate since he's been slacking off. He burst into Super Saiyan 2, rushing at Frieza. The Emperor is hit, but he strikes back. Frieza had improved to an incredible degree and decided that without his soldiers to take care of the small fry, he will instill fear in them. He will show them his final form. Frieza's power rose, turning into his elegant final state. This caught Buu's attention as he stopped eating and smirked. Now this was interesting. Frieza fires multiple blasts all over the area, hitting some of the Z fighters, but mainly aiming at Gohan. Piccolo was about to move ahead of him, but Buu would never let someone hurt his good friend Gohan. Buu burst before the blast, his elastic body actually bouncing it back to Frieza's ship. Frieza couldn't believe it, but he was glad to see that at the very least, the blast did hurt Buu, who now had a burning hole in his chest. It recovered, but now Buu was excited. Frieza was actually pretty strong. Buu burst towards Frieza, who's able to fight back fairly even against Buu. The biggest issue here was just how weird the Majin moved. Frieza knew he needed to avoid the antenna beam, but he didn't realize how versatile Buu was, even hitting him back with a pink Kamehameha. This was seriously getting tiresome. He was here for Goku and Vegeta, not for some weird pink monster. He would have to end this in a single blast, as Golden Frieza. The Emperor glowed a vibrant color, slowly peeling to reveal the Super Saiyan-inspired form. The Z fighters looked terrified. Without Goku nor Vegeta around, there was nothing they could do. But before Frieza declared himself as the victor, a candy beam came bursting his way. Frieza tried to slap it out of the way with his tail, but he was instantly transformed into a small chocolate version of himself. The Z fighters looked at Buu with terrified eyes. Frieza's power seemed like it could have taken them down easily, but Buu defeated him in one shot? They were sure glad he was on their side now. Buu chuckled as he skipped his way onto the cookie, when suddenly it began to glow and rise up. Buu was confused, but the chocolate struck him in the face. The Emperor could still act, even as a cookie. The aura he radiated was incredible, as Buu kept on trying to eat him, only for Frieza to keep on fighting. Buu had no option but to turn him back. Frieza was livid, and he swore to kill Buu. Frieza's power rose. If they didn't get Goku nor Vegeta down there, they would certainly die. But Gohan thought of something. Buu, absorb us! Together, we may be able to still stand a chance against Frieza. The Z fighters weren't happy about this, but Frieza rose up to the sky with a death ball in his hand. Buu did as told, even trying to absorb Frieza by having a piece of himself blast off, only to get destroyed. Gohan, Piccolo, Krillin, Tien, they were all absorbed, while Roshi stayed behind to make sure someone was out there to get Buu to release them eventually. Buu's power skyrocketed, but not to the exact degree where he could match Frieza. Even so, the death ball was interrupted by a giant Kiko hole. Frieza was hurt by it, before being slammed down to the ground from above by a giant demon wave. Frieza continued to fight as Buu used up all of his friend's techniques. Plus, now he knew Frieza's own techniques, thanks to Piccolo and Gohan's memory. Buu had a severe advantage, even if his powers didn't quite match Frieza. As he continued to fight, Buu gathered more and more power onto himself, knowing Gohan's plan of getting Goku's attention. The Emperor used everything in his arsenal, culminating in him using another Death Ball to try and consume Buu whole. Buu didn't have time for the Kiko Ho now, and he tried to push it back. Slowly, he was being consumed, but despite his fury and hunger, deep within Buu he felt a sense of responsibility to Mr. Satan, Gohan, and his friends. He burst his aura one last time, keeping the ball from touching the ground. Just then, a blast came Frieza's way. Vegeta and Goku had arrived. Buu was able to push the sphere back, launching it into space where it exploded. Buu was tired, and in response, he stuffed more of the candy soldiers into his mouth. Goku thanked Buu and the others for their help, but they've got it from here. Even so, Goku was impressed, and Gohan telling Buu to absorb him was very brave, and it put Buu a lot higher than he realized. That, coupled with his strange moves, made Frieza actually struggle, but the real battle was about to begin. Beerus and Whis noticed this too. Surely, if the battle had continued, Buu would have likely won. But he has no horse in this race. Even with the Z fighters inside him, he knows that this is truly Goku's and Vegeta's match. So he resigns to continue eating. But he pays attention to how the battle continues, analyzing Goku and Vegeta's moves, as well as Frieza's, learning from them little by little. Frieza damned the duo, and Buu himself. Meanwhile, the Majin released his friends at Roshi's request. Tien and Piccolo hated it and hoped to never do it again. But Buu did compliment them on their interesting techniques, showing off his own powerful Kiko Ho. It seemed like he kept a lot of the techniques for himself. Without sorbet to stop Goku from defeating Frieza, since he was eaten, the fight is a complete wash. Though Vegeta does interrupt it himself to make sure he gets a chance to fight Frieza. But the Emperor is desperate. He can't hope to win under these conditions. As he begs for mercy, Frieza gets ready to take the planet down with him. But Buu, who has been watching the battles while eating from his pile, realizes what's going on. Super Buu needed to act fast. Frieza looks quite tasty in his chocolate form, and didn't want to waste any food. He rushed in and launched the candy beam, turning Frieza into chocolate. But it was too late. Vegeta launched his attack and killed the Emperor. Buu fell to his knees, crying. All he wanted was a little bit more chocolate. He doesn't get anything. He wasn't allowed to absorb people, he couldn't absorb Frieza, and now he doesn't even get his chocolate. He swore that one of these days, he's going to absorb someone really strong, and maybe then he'll finally be satisfied. But he didn't think so. Vegeta cursed the blob for intervening, but Goku was more curious. It did seem like Buu was a little smarter than before. Could it be that because he absorbed Piccolo and the others? Could it be he's actually learning a little? It didn't matter. His martial arts alone were something else. Buu wanted to keep fighting, but Goku and Vegeta said that if he wanted to fight, he'd have to come home to Beerus' planet. But decided that instead, he should go take a nap, heading back to Gohan's home. He did, however, mention to Gohan that he could feel so much more power within him than what he had access to. It was just a comment and not made nearly as eloquent, but Gohan took it to heart. Maybe there was further power to reach. Goku and Vegeta rolled their eyes. They did want to fight Buu, but they would force him to go with them to Beerus' planet one day. Buu was just happy that he would get to sleep again. But Beerus and Whis had watched the battles go down. It was clear that Buu was evolving. He had changed a lot ever since Beerus fought him. He was impressive back then, but nothing beyond a curiosity. At this rate, however, he could become quite a foe. So Beerus told Whis that if he wanted to have him over more often, that would be okay, so long as he behaves. Neither Whis nor Beerus are interested in training Buu, but Buu seems to be improving on his own, learning from every fight he has and every match he watches, and that power would come in handy. As from a universe beyond the stars, Beerus' younger brother Champa sets his eyes on Earth. And though you can't depend on Buu for a lot of things, you can't depend on one thing. He's not going to allow you to mess with the place that has the best cake in the universe. Buu has been more consistent about going to Beerus' planet. Beerus likes to use him for his food-making abilities. Even so, he still hasn't forgiven him for the pudding incident, but at least he respected him as a warrior. Buu would always end up getting kicked out after getting upset and threatening to turn Beerus into candy. But he did also enjoy reading his magazines and watching Goku and Vegeta train. Whis in particular he found interesting, as the way he moved was unlike anything he had seen before. But eventually, Champa appeared at Beerus' planet, seeking to obtain Earth for himself. Buu didn't like this, and actually got really upset and nearly exploded at Champa, before Goku and Vegeta jumped in and stopped him. But the god of destruction of Universe 6 didn't take this lightly, and he promised to destroy him. But to everyone's surprise, Beerus stood up for them. He said that if it's a fight he wants, then that's exactly what he would get. This conversation ended up in the tournament between Universe 6 and Universe 7. And so, preparations began. Buu was just annoyed. He wanted to just go home to Mr. Satan and eat there, but he had no choice. Gohan couldn't attend due to a prior commitment, but he did start to train again, which Piccolo was proud of, and accepted to enter in his student's stead. With the team of Super Buu, Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, and Monaka, the team heads towards the Super Dragon Ball. What took everyone by surprise was the written exam. Everyone was nervous, especially about Buu. He may have gotten a little smarter over the years, but he would certainly fail. Even Buu thought this as he tried to eat the pencil, but Goten and Trunks had a different idea. They were disappointed that they weren't asked to enter the tournament, so they came up with a plan. Buu exclaimed that he needed to use the bathroom, running off and peeing by the bleachers. That's when Goten and Trunks snuck up behind him, telling him their idea. He should absorb them as Gotenks. Not only would that power him up, but he would get smart enough to pass the test. Buu doubted it. They were just kids, like himself. Goten and Trunks looked at each other in confusion. Buu was several thousand years old, but whatever. Buu did admire just how tenacious they were. Trunks was a genius in his own right, and once they fused into Gotenks, they warned Buu that they better get to really show off their moves during the fight. Otherwise, he'll be mad. Buu finally accepts and absorbs Gotenks, who regretted doing this almost instantly. This was the second time he was absorbed. Just as Vados was about to disqualify him, Buu reappeared with a brand new vest and a cocky smirk. This was going to be too easy. Buu aced the exam and finished quick enough to draw doodles of Gotenks ghosts all over the page, which Vados gave a -3 points to. Either way, the tournament began. Goku and Vegeta rolled their eyes, knowing what Goten and Trunks did, but at the very least, it meant that they wanted to fight, and that was okay with them. Buu is the first to bat, making Mr. Satan comment on how it would have been amusing to see the old fat Buu fight against this Botamo guy. Instantly, Buu rushed in, throwing any and every punch, only to realize that none of them had any effect on Botamo. No problem, he himself had similar properties, and he knew how to win. Buu unleashed a galactic donut around Botamo, which left him stuck in place, before Buu just knocked him to the ground and rolled him out of the arena. Champa got angry. That Buu guy was cheating. Next up was Frost, who was confident about his abilities, but Buu wasn't affected by anything First Form Frost threw his way, making Bootanks exclaim how he knows that he has more forms than just that. He's a little insulted that Frost would think that would be enough. Frost agrees and transforms into his final form, confident that he can win. Frost and the rest of the Universe 6 fighters were still a lot stronger than he expected. As the fight ramped up, Frost began to get a little desperate, as he landed only a few punches. Why wasn't Buu going down? Bootanks smirked. He wouldn't be taken out just like that, turning himself into a ball that swung around the entire stage, smacking Frost with such speed that he couldn't do anything. Ultimately, he was defeated and thrown out of the ring, but Frost wouldn't give up. He was freaking out. Why hadn't the poison worked? That's when the referee stopped him. Poison? He was trying to poison Buu? Buu had actually recognized something entering his body, but it just made him feel a little tipsy if anything. Champa nearly killed Frost, but Buu is the bigger issue. They need to stop him at Vegeta. Goku and Vegeta were also starting to get annoyed. At this rate, they wouldn't be able to participate. But the Vegeta fight actually proved to be a huge issue for Buu. He could pack a punch, but the incredible heat of the cage Champa placed around the arena began to melt Buu down. Little bits scattered off around the arena until Vegeta was surrounded by the puddles. It got to the point where Buu was nowhere to be found. He was just scattered around the arena. And so the cage was lowered, and the referee wondered if he should disqualify Vegeta for killing Buu, when suddenly all of the puddles around Vegeta began to reform at once into one large mass that smashed itself against Vegeta. The surprise knocked him back into the edge of the arena. Buu had rearranged himself incorrectly, as his hands were placed where his feet should be, but he once again declared himself the Grim Reaper of Justice, and that he'd defeat this stupid bucket of bolts, flipping off Vegeta. At that second, Vegeta lost balance, fell off the stage, and started crying. Buu was confused. He didn't expect Vegeta to be so sensitive. Chi-Chi and Bulma, on the other hand, were furious at Gotenks within Buu, since they knew it was really their doing. They yelled at him, and they warned of no video games and no sweet treats once the tournament was over. Next up was Kappa, who really didn't want to fight Buu, but he had to do what he had to do. That's when Vegeta stepped up and interrupted them. Could he switch places with Buu until he lost? He wanted to have a chance to battle this Saiyan, at the very least. Buu didn't really care either way, and Champa was actually excited to allow this. At least Kappa would stand a chance against Vegeta. This Buu guy had too many weird tricks. The fight goes on as in the original, with Vegeta showing off Super Saiyan and forcing Kappa into it, then bursting into Super Saiyan Blue to really show the potential of the Saiyans. Champa was disappointed when the fight didn't go his way. Looks like they'll be going home soon. The tournament hadn't even lasted 25 minutes. But Vegeta didn't stand a chance against Hit, which finally gave Universe 6 some much needed breathing room. Only to remember that there were still 4 more fighters, including Majin Buu. But he heard the sound of Goku's knuckles cracking. It wasn't over yet, and he had something under his sleeve. Hit sighed. He'd have to end this quickly. However, similarly to the original, and after using the Kaioken Super Saiyan Blue, Goku realized that they couldn't fight as they wanted. Plus, Hit was already hurt. Goku wouldn't be satisfied. And so, with nothing else to do, Goku jumps off the stage and says, "Good luck, Piccolo." Hit was confused, but also mesmerized by Goku. The Namekian stepped up, but Hit already knew that he had been victorious. All things considered, Piccolo does okay. After all, he got to analyze what Hit moved like, and gather hints from the battle against Goku. But his power was far outmatched. It was clear that he needed more training. Goku, Vegeta, Buu, even this Hit guy, they had all left him in the dust. If he didn't step it up a notch, he won't be able to ever compete again. Piccolo did land a few good strikes, especially as he fired multiple blasts around the entire arena, with Hit easily avoiding them, not realizing that they stayed in place as key mines surrounding him. When he time skipped, Hit nearly blew himself up, but avoided it just in time. Even so, Piccolo used the remaining mines as a Hellzone grenade. Hit managed to block and expand his aura, but it did hurt him. In that moment, he snapped forward and punched Piccolo in the chest, knocking him out. Champa couldn't help but cheer loudly. Maybe they did stand a chance after all, especially once Monaka stepped up to the ring. Hit really considered just jumping off the stage like Goku had, but he remembered that Universe 7 did have one last fighter, Super Buu, and he was really interested in how he would fight against him. At the start of the match, Hit punched Monaka across the face and sent him hurling into Champa. It was a one-hit KO, and they were sure that he was dead, at least at first. But Hit didn't put all of his power into that punch. He needed to save it for the real fight. As Kibito rushes to Monaka to heal him, Hit turns around to stare down at Super Buu. Champa is biting his nails in desperation. He had completely forgotten that Super Buu didn't lose, and that he could still come back as the final warrior. And so, with a twist of his body, and with Champa ready to jump off a building, Super Buu appeared on the stage. Even so, Hit was sure of himself. It was extremely difficult for Buu. Despite his strange techniques, Hit had been examining Buu's moves meticulously, to the point of predicting what he would do. That was, until he time-skipped just as Buu left behind a kamikaze ghost, inadvertently exploding the bomb and hurting both himself and Buu. But that wouldn't work twice, even if it was a smart move. Buu tried to unleash the kamikaze ghost once again, only to have Goten and Trunks defuse within him and take an extremely powerful blow to the chest. Buu is knocked back and nearly falls off the edge of the arena. The shock from the power down nearly cost him the match. Champa stood up in excitement, when suddenly Super Buu spun his head all the way around and blew down a wave of air that pushed him back up to the arena. It was far closer than he expected. Without Gotenks' moves, he was certainly at a bit more of a disadvantage, but he didn't need Gotenks to win. Hit may have gotten a chance to analyze Super Buu's moves, but Super Buu did the same thing to him. Hit thought that Super Buu was just sleeping the entire time, which was now obviously not true, since he took inspiration from Piccolo's technique to pull off that kamikaze ghost move. Super Buu had one more idea, pulling his arm up to the sky and firing hundreds of blasts. In a different reality, this would have been used to kill kill everyone on Earth, but here, it was going to make sure that he won. But it wouldn't be easy, as Hit took a step and time skipped to push Super Buu out of the arena. He was at the very edge. This would be easy. But as he did that, he realized that Super Buu was no longer standing right where he used to be. He had disappeared from the spot where he fired the bullets, and was now behind Hit. As Hit turned around to strike, he realized that Super Buu's eyes were following him. Hit was surprised and staggered back as time resumed and the key bullets rained down upon the arena. No one knew exactly what happened, but Hit and Goku had their suspicions. Super Buu was trying to adapt the time skip into something he could use. After all, one of the many properties Buu has is the ability to copy techniques and moves easily, like with the instant transmission and the Kamehameha in the original story. Super Buu had analyzed Hit, and though he didn't quite understand the time skip, he did try his best to use it. It wasn't perfect, but it allowed him to read Hit and use an early version of his own time skip. The bullets finished, and from the cloud of smoke, it was revealed that Hit was no longer standing on the arena, as there was very little of it left. Hit had been ringed out. As the assassin stood up, he looked at Buu and nodded at him, respecting his abilities. Universe 7 had interesting fighters. If only he could have fought at 100%, he would have certainly won. Now Super Buu was all hungry, and he had considered eating Hit. He still didn't quite get the time skip, and if he absorbed him, he would have mastered him. But would that have counted as a disqualification? Still, Buu was happy to have gotten to fight such powerful opponents. Chi-Chi and Bulma yelled at Buu to release the boys, which Buu did. He didn't want them if they didn't have Gotenks anyways. Just then, however, the Omni King appeared in the middle of the ring, pleased with the results. Goku tried to make quick friends of him, but Buu didn't like the others telling him to vow. Instead, he smirked and took slow steps towards the Omni King, saying that he doesn't look so tough. But Zeno is in awe at Super Buu. He floats around him, analyzing him and poking him. He has so many cool moves and abilities. Buu didn't expect this response from Zeno, but he also liked being praised. When the idea for a multiversal tournament came up, Zeno made Goku and the rest promise to participate, especially Buu. He was quite interesting. Buu was way too hungry though, and refused to participate in anything until he ate, turning the stage into a giant candy bar, and began eating it. Zeno ate some too, though Buu only let him have a little piece. And finally, the wish to revive Universe 6's Earth was made. Zeno thought to himself that perhaps he could make Buu into his own personal chef, with the guards getting very nervous at the prospect. But that would be for a later date. And so the team returned to Earth, but an even greater darkness loomed beyond. Zamasu, a renegade Kaioshin, had taken interest in Goku's power after seeing it on GodTube. The Buu was interesting too. He had very weird moves, but he was still just a mortal. That was until in between rounds. The video captured the Universe 6 Kaioshin and Champa discussing just why Buu had God Ki. None of them understood why, though he did look familiar to the Kais. Zamasu stood up, eyes widened. So he wasn't just a mortal, was he? What was this thing? This reaction caught Gowazu's attention, who turned to look at the screen. He also wasn't sure what this Buu person was, but he did remind him of something Shin said to him long ago, when Gowazu visited Universe 7 and found that none of his friends were around anymore, except for the youngest Kai. Apparently, a couple of thousands of years before, the rest of the Kais were completely wiped out by a being named Majin Buu, a strange monster created by Bibidi. But there's no way that being was working with Universe 7. Gowazu dismissed the thought and walked away, but Zamasu was left paralyzed. That Majin Buu guy wasn't even a mere mortal. He was a science experiment by some magician. In Zamasu's eyes, Buu didn't even count as life. Yet he paraded around with God Ki, perhaps even killed other gods. At that moment, Zamasu declared his manifesto, the destruction of all mortal life. Buu was sleeping at Mr. Satan's place, while at Capsule Corp a time machine landed. Future Trunks had returned and sought help against the evil known as Goku Black. Goku and Vegeta were ready to help Trunks, just like the original story, but it would still take a little bit of time to repair the time machine after Goku Black appeared and destroyed it. While they waited, Goku investigated Zamasu with Beerus, while Vegeta trained Trunks. Buu eventually woke up during this time, as Vegeta sought his help to train Trunks. If they were going to have to fight Kakarot, then maybe Buu could try and mimic some of his moves. Trunks was surprised to see what Buu looked like. He never actually got to lay eyes on him since they stopped his birth just in time. As they battled Buu, who pretended to act like Goku, Trunks saw just how similar he actually was to Black. The way he moved and acted, it was unnerving. Could Buu truly be trusted? Even Vegeta himself still wasn't sure, but he had been great help so far. And eventually, the time to go to the future arrived. Buu wasn't really impressed, and he didn't really want to go to the future, but he promised to do so as long as you subscribe. And a destroyed future meant a lot of destroyed buildings waiting to be turned into candy. And Buu did turn things into candy just as he arrived, much to Trunks' disdain. Looks like they have less cover now, but above that, it drew the attention of Goku Black. He arrived with a sadistic smirk, even stronger than the last time they met. But he was surprised to see Buu. Had they really teamed up with that terrible force of nature? Are there really no lows mortals won't sink to? But none of them listened, as they rushed in at Black. The fight was intense and extremely difficult, even more so than in the original story. Buu tried to help as well, but it was as if Black knew everything Buu was going to do. As Vegeta and Black clashed blasts, Buu appeared behind Black and wrapped himself around him, keeping him in place as the blast came his way. With no chance to escape, Buu let go just in time. It was a stray hit. Surely, that had done it. But as the smoke dissipated, Goku Black was seen in an awful state, melting away into pink bits. Everyone was left in awe as he began to rebuild himself back up. Black began to laugh. What they saw was just a facade, because this Goku Black didn't switch bodies with Goku. Instead, he switched bodies with Majin Buu, and then proceeded to absorb Goku. He knew that if he ever crossed paths with Buu, he would be extremely troublesome, so he thought ahead. Similarly to the Grand Kaioshin and Majin Buu switching places during the Moro Arc, Black is using Goku's appearance as opposed to the grotesque form of Buu. Zamasu wasn't planning on stealing Buu's body at first. He cared more about Goku and what he represented with his Super Saiyan God. But Buu, a bastardization of life, who's actually murdered gods, and whose God Ki did not belong to him, angered him a lot more. Buu exploded in rage, steam pouring out of his head. He went in to attack Black without hesitation, but he had never fought himself like this. From extending limbs, copying abilities, there was no way for Buu to be unpredictable. But Buu did have one thing over Black. He had more control over all of it. Buu used his body in creative ways, such as turning himself into a ball, digging underground, appearing in various places, etc. Black was too proud to do any of that. And so, despite Black maybe being stronger, it forced him back into the defensive. It seemed like it was all over. But just then, a second blast hit a tower. It was Zamasu. It was clear that Buu was getting too desperate and upset about this now, and he started to do worse and worse against Black. Above that, the Z fighters now had to try and avoid Zamasu. For some reason, however, Black wasn't trying to absorb them. In reality, Black hated these mortals so much that even just having to use Goku as part of his body disgusted him. With Buu, at least he could sense some remnants of God Ki, and with him not actually being a mortal, it made him feel a little better.
I am above all mortals and all gods, don't you see? That's why you're afraid, Majin Buu. The Grand Kaioshin of Universe 7 lost, absorbed by you. You can have God Ki, but it doesn't belong to you. You should be glad that someone such as myself decided to use your body for a purpose greater than anything you were born to do.
Buu screamed out and rushed once more, launching a barrage of Kamehamehas. But Black responded by exploding his power into a new form. His aura sizzled into a pink one. Super Saiyan Rosé.
What do you think of this color? I've even claimed it as my own.
The Z fighters were only getting hurt, with Buu enraged and bloodlusted. He was now a danger to everyone. They needed to retreat. What's more, the revelation of Zamasu being immortal meant that they needed to figure out a way to lock away the Kai. Without a choice, Goku grabbed Trunks, Vegeta, Buu, and Mai and teleported wherever he could find some ki. They reappeared underground alongside some survivors, but Buu was livid. His steam quickly covered the room as Goku and the others tried to calm him down. Goku yelled at Buu that they can defeat Black and get payback, but that getting angrier isn't going to help them. Buu wouldn't listen. Something very bad could happen if they didn't calm him down. Realizing that what Zamasu said was indeed true, he could sense an intense amount of God Ki within Buu. It was very strange, almost similar to Zamazu's own. Nothing was working, but Trunks slowly approached Buu. He didn't know why, but Buu reminded him of someone. He reached out to him, placing a hand on his shoulder. It burned Trunks, but Buu's eyes shifted to look at him. Reflected in them, he could see a Kai. Slowly, Buu began to calm down. In reality, as the Dragon Ball Super manga explains, Trunks had undergone a Kaioshin initiation ritual when he trained with Shin. It's not the same as getting your potential unlocked. Instead, this one makes you a Kai in training. This connection between Trunks and the Kais within Buu seemed to calm him down, which surprised everyone. But they didn't have time to ruminate on it, as they heard explosions coming from the outside. Trunks told Goku and Vegeta that they needed to move and find a way to stop Zamazu. He would stay behind. But not just that, he also asked for Buu to stay. They were confused. Surely he would be a liability with his anger. Trunks shook his head. It's hard enough to protect the world without any help. Buu would be a great asset. The team agreed. They headed to the surface, popping the capsule containing the time machine. Just then, Black and Zamazu spotted them and sought to stop them. But the more calm Buu was able to move better and try new things out. But it was obvious that Black and Zamazu were more focused on Goku and Vegeta. In a desperate move, as Buu and Trunks blocked a powerful blast together, Trunks turned to the side and yelled at Buu to use his power. But before being absorbed, Trunks made Buu promise to release him after. The Majin appreciated the trust put in him, despite everything. As Buu, Trunks absorbed, appeared at the battle site. He launched a burst cannon that finally pushed back Black and Zamazu. Vegeta and Goku boarded the ship, and so, the time machine disappeared. Goku and Vegeta did what they could in the past. Vegeta trained in the time chamber while Goku went off to take care of President Zamazu. The plan was obvious, using the Mafuba. As Buu continued to battle against Black, he gained a lot more tactical knowledge thanks to Trunks. He knew when to escape and when to challenge his enemy, hiding his presence to strike at critical moments. He kept Mai and the other humans safe, even if Mai was terrified of the situation. Black was getting tired of it, but he pursued Buu again through the landscape, until eventually the time machine returned. Goku and Vegeta were ready to challenge them again, and a small battle started, where Black had to admit just how much Goku and Vegeta had actually improved since the last time. He would kill their families just like he killed Chi-Chi, Goten, Gohan, and Mr. Satan. When Buu realized that Mr. Satan had been killed using his body, several pink blasts came Black's way. He turned to look, but no one was there. Instead, Buu came crashing down from the sky and threw Zamazu with his sword. This was the opening Goku was searching for, as he unleashed the Mafuba, with Buu jumping out of the way, but it was no use. Despite the successful move, the lack of seal allowed Zamazu to escape, but he was livid. He didn't care about morality anymore. He demanded that Black absorbs the other fighters and get this over with, but Black refused. He already suffered the fate of using a mortal's and a Majin's body to accomplish his goals. He hated having stooped to this level, while Buu took the chance to heal Goku and Vegeta in secret. He did have another idea, but it was very risky. Zamazu then snaps out of it, seeing that Goku and the others were recovering, going in for an attack. He yells at Black once again that they need to absorb them now, but Black was over the edge in anger and desperation. The Z-Fighter's eyes widened as Black deforms from Goku and back into Super Buu, only to launch parts of his chest into Zamazu, consuming him and absorbing him. Goku was left in shock. How could he betray his friend like that? Well, not even a friend himself. There was a great storm of energy that swirled around Black as his body was reformed stronger than ever before, but he didn't look right. He looked like a monster mix of Buu, with Zamazu and Goku faces popping out of various places on his body, as if they were trying to escape. Spikes protruded from Buu and into every direction, striking Vegeta and the others, piercing through them. Buu was the one they were surprised by, as he swiftly dodged the spikes. Vegeta and Black assumed it was because he knew what the move entailed, but Goku realized something else. Buu had moved similarly to Whis. It wasn't the same flair, but it was as if he was trying to mimic him. It made sense after all. One of Buu's main techniques is the power of copying abilities from fighters. In essence, Buu was trying to copy Whis' Ultra Instinct. It was nowhere near perfect, but it saved him. But it couldn't save him from the relentless onslaught unleashed by Merge Zamazu, who released several clones and tried to turn everyone into candy. Buildings left and right were turned into candy canes and chocolate bars. Buu tried to counteract it, but did take a few bites out of buildings here and there. He was caught in the middle of a maelstrom of kicks and punches, brought down to the ground, until Vegeta flashed through with a Gallic gun, saving Buu. He told him that he'd better not get himself killed before releasing Trunks. He wasn't sure if Buu was worth all this trouble. The fighters were able to keep Black at bay for now by working all together, but it was starting to weigh them down. He was clearly going a little insane, as while Goku and Vegeta distracted Black, Buu came down from the sky and sliced clear through the middle of him. But the enemy simply reformed himself, or at least tried to. It seemed like the absorption of the immortal Zamasu had doubled his insanity as he began to convulse, melting onto himself. He fired a candy beam at Buu, which he barely managed to dodge, but it was just getting him away, as Black then lifted his arm up to the sky and fired a storm of bullets. Vegeta and Goku tried to save civilians, as Buu cared more about just finally stopping Black, but it was no use. There were too many of them, and a few struck Goku and Vegeta. They were able to save Mai, Yajirobe, and a few others, but not everyone was lucky. Black laughed as he turned more buildings into candy. Just then, Gowazu and Shin arrived. Shin had promised Goku that he would help with the issue after it was revealed that Zamasu was trying to kill Gowazu in the present. The situation was extremely dire, as Black then focused on Gowazu and attacked. Goku and Vegeta got in the way, but a candy beam forced them to grab Gowazu and roll out of there. He was aiming to eat them all, a fate too good for them, Black said. Gowazu could tell the difference in power was too great, and he suggested using the Potara to fuse. Vegeta did not want to do this. Goku grabbed Vegeta and told him that if they fail now, not only will the universe be destroyed, but their own timeline will suffer the same fate. Not only will Trunks die within Buu, but young Trunks, Bulma, and everyone else they love. Vegeta accepted and placed the Nearing on. The battle came to a standstill then, as a being pushed Buu and Black away from each other by landing in the middle.
Come on, Buu, we can't slow down now,
Vegito said with a cocky smirk. Zamasu's stance grotesquely deformed, dripping with unstable, glowing ooze. The air cackles with energy as Super Buu kicks off the battle, stretching his arm and morphing his hand into a massive sword. He slashes through the air, sending waves of energy towards merged Zamasu, who raised a shield of dark ki to block the attacks. Vegito Blue seized the moment, darting forward and engaging Zamasu in a high-speed melee. His fists were a blur, marking the monster's body. Zamasu focused on parrying Vegito's assault as Super Buu calls out,
Catch this!
And unleashed a pink finish buster. The energy hits Zamasu from behind, throwing him off balance and allowing Vegito to land a powerful uppercut, sending Zamasu up to the sky. As he recovers, he senses an intense aura from below, looking down to see Buu and Vegito standing back to back, arms up to the sky as they released a final heat dome attack. Zamasu tries to dodge it, but his whole left side is struck, screaming out in pain as he falls down into the candy-filled city. With Zamasu weakened, Super Buu launched bits of his body to pin him against the wall. Zamasu tries to free himself, but it's too late. Vegito steps back, his hands glowing with blue energy as he prepares a devastating spirit sword. By his side, Buu held onto Trunks' sword, filling it with dark Majin energy as the two burst forward. Zamasu finally frees himself and starts to fire blast at the two, but the Z-fighters swirl around each other, avoiding the ki bullets, until they swing their swords across Zamasu's body, splitting him apart along with the building he was pressed against. The ground shakes as Zamasu's screams echo, his body unable to control this immense power, as if his very being was incompatible. He instead began to disintegrate. It seemed like it was over as Vegeta defused, and Super Buu finally released Trunks after Vegeta yelled him to do so. The future warrior looked around as he remembered the difficult battle. Trunks thanked them all, but as they celebrated, Gowazu and Shin yelled to watch out, as the sparkles that were once Zamasu were now forming into something in the sky. Only Zamasu's bottom half remained. They didn't know how to stop it, but Buu did, and he was hungry. Before the body could completely disappear, Buu used his time skip to appear before Zamasu, stretching his whole body over the god to cover it, as Zamasu's presence was spreading around, but almost as if he was extinguishing a flame. Slowly, Buu was able to wrap himself around Zamasu and absorb him onto himself. Goku and Vegeta tried to stop him at first before realizing that this may be their only chance to save the future. But Buu's body was releasing so much steam that it began to cover the entire city. His ki was rising to an incredible degree until it finally calmed down. With a wave of his hand, Goku moved away the steam to reveal a new Buu, one standing tall, wearing the Kaioshin garb. He was smarter, more articulate, but above all, powerful. The Z-fighters were a little scared, but Buu simply walked up to them.
Problem solved. The gods done for.
They were worried about what this could mean, but as soon as he started eating the chocolate, they all settled down. He seemed like regular old Buu, but just a little meaner and maybe smarter. Either way, Trunks was grateful. Buu was still acting relatively normal and civil, and even fell asleep prior to departing home. But he did say something that made Trunks worry. Trunks began to make plans to rebuild with Mai. However, Buu commented on how the efforts of the mortals are ultimately tragic. Trunks had to rebuild after the androids, only to Black appear. It seemed futile, as if it was just a matter of time until another crazed monster appeared. It was a very dark sentiment, and Trunks actually turned to Buu and stared him down. Buu may not exactly be immortal, but that doesn't mean he gets to look down upon them. Buu snapped out of it and said that he didn't mean it like that. It was just a shame. Buu did eventually help rebuild, thanks to his magic powers, but slowly began to doze off. Eventually, the Z Fighters returned back home and finally rested for a bit. Once they were settled, Beerus and Whis appeared. Goku and Vegeta had been waiting for this, as they wanted Buu to release Zamasu, so Buu can get rid of him. But there's an issue. Buu has actually been asleep for a while. The fight against Zamasu took a lot out of him, and now he was in deep slumber. They went to Mr. Satan's house to confirm, and the Z Fighters looked curiously at Beerus as he circled around Buu. He could sense Zamasu's energy within, but there was little he could do. Even if Buu does release Zamasu, Beerus just can't kill an immortal. The best thing for them to do now is to keep him within him. Goku did admit that Buu was a lot stronger thanks to this, and that it would be useful during the Tournament of Power. Everyone turned to look at Goku as he explained what he meant. Unlike the original, where Trunks has no timeline to return to, does indeed have one here, so there's less heat on him to leave. So, after much asking from Goku and Vegeta, Beerus agrees to allow him in the tournament. Meanwhile, they would place Buu in the time chamber for the time being, so he will wake up in time for the tournament. The next greatest adventure is right around the corner.
Story.
The Tournament of Power begins. The team for Universe 7 is composed of Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo, Trunks, Buu, Krillin, 18, 17, and Frieza. Goku wanted Roshi or Tien, but everyone has far surpassed them. Instead, he set someone in the back of his mind, Frieza. Everyone is worried, but Buu just stares him down. Last time they met each other, Buu turned Frieza into candy twice. Perhaps this time he'll get to eat him. Frieza thinks he can take him on now, but Buu is also far cockier than anyone remembers, with the Emperor promising to kill Buu and Goku after the tournament. As the tournament begins, everyone from Universe 7 seems to be doing okay, with some highlights including Trunks versus Kaba, as Vegeta watched Dawn proudly. Their Gallic guns clashing was something to behold. Many things go on as normal, such as Frost knocking Krillin out of the ring, and Frieza defeating Frost. Buu in particular is defeating enemies left and right. He starts with the lowest, scurrying across the ground, sneaking up on foes, and absorbing people like Jimizu, Mona, and more. At first, other members don't really realize what's going on. They just assume that team members are being taken out. Buu even tries to absorb Jiren, only for the Gray's aura to stop the blob and be forced away. It was one of the few things that caught Jiren's attention, who finally stood up and tried to locate Buu. The Majin had already gone away, but seeing the Pride Trooper try to find Buu, Goku actually begins to charge a Spirit Bomb earlier than normal. After all, now that Jiren is up, he actually has a chance to fight him. But to his surprise, Jiren retorts, yelling at him that teaming up and defending a monster is something to be ashamed of. At first, Goku thinks he's talking about Frieza or even Vegeta. Jiren ignored his actions while it was other universes, but he's not going to allow him to consume the Pride Troopers. Goku's confused and ends up just launching the Spirit Bomb, a massive supercharged one, as Buu also gives his energy, similar to how Oob's energy supercharged Goku against Moro. Thus, Jiren has to expel out more force to push it back, and Goku unlocks Ultra Instinct Omen as a result. But with all of the attention drawn to Goku, Buu takes the chance to sneak around even more. The only time Goku was actually struck while in Ultra Instinct was when Kawaii shakes and screams out. Her whole team had disappeared. She was alone, with no chance of winning. In response to this, Frieza slapped her away with his tail and out of bounds. But instead of being erased, she remained. The Grand Priest cocked an eyebrow as he turned to Zeno, realizing that the rest of the team was not in fact on this stance.
But she's the only one out. Her team hasn't been eliminated yet.
Everyone looked confused. There was no one from Universe 4 around anymore. But Zeno thought that they very clearly lost, raising his hand up to the sky to erase Universe 3. Everyone looked around and wondered just exactly what it could have been. Goku and Jiren continued their battle, as sudden screams were heard around the arena. Toppo tried to get Jiren's attention, but nothing could take his concentration away from Goku, the selfishness of this Pride Trooper. Until one more time, Toppo pleaded for Jiren, as the Grey turned to look, only to see Cocote be absorbed by Super Buu. All the suspicions Jiren had were just confirmed. Buu absorbed all of the Universe 4 team. Buu simply cackled as he patted his stomach.
Mortals taste good.
Jiren and Toppo rushed towards Super Buu to stop him, but another cry came from the other side of the arena, as Caulifla was now being absorbed. Kaba and Kale tried to help, but that piece of Buu turns into spikes that pushes the Universe 6 Saiyans away. Gohan and Trunks run in to help, yelling at Buu that this isn't the way to do things. They need to take them out of the arena, not absorb them like this. Jiren proclaims that Universe 7 has no honor, that stealing someone's power like this, instead of defeating them fair and square, is proof that they are no martial artists. His aura exploded, but Kale finally broke, bursting against Buu and pushing Caulifla out of him in an epic clash. Gohan and Trunks tried to intervene, but Kale was attacking with no restraint, and other fighters were being taken out left and right. Buu continued to try to absorb Kale instead. Bits of Buu were scattered around the arena as more fighters began to be taken in. Toppo was enveloped, but Jiren sliced across Buu and saved his friend, while Dispo was too fast to be absorbed and instead saved many other warriors, until he sacrificed himself for Bergamo. In the end, he was a hero. Not everyone was as lucky, with 18 being absorbed. Same with Ribrianne, as she saved her fireballs. One of the pieces even launched itself at Goku, who avoided it with Ultra Instinct, but there were still pieces all around him, as if he was a primary target. They all jumped at him, but slowly they trickled down, as Vegeta and Frieza rose to the challenge and blasted pieces themselves. But Ultra Instinct wasn't going to last forever, and with everyone trying to keep Buu away, Lavender fired a rogue blast at Goku, which he was forced to avoid, and into the path of the Buu piece. Vegeta fired back to knock Lavender off of the arena, only to turn and see the unbelievable, as Frieza jumped before Goku and tried to blast the piece of Buu away, only for Red to grab his hand first and drag him towards Buu. Buu had been one of their greatest allies. Why was this happening? The gods demanded that the tournament be stopped and Buu disqualified, but Zeno found this very amusing. He wanted to see how this was going to go down. The rest of the fighters continued to blast at Buu, but he responded back by firing a pretty black hole, one of Ribrianne's moves, sucking them all into one single point and cracking the ground below them. Zamasu must have had much more effect on Buu than they expected. With a deep breath, Jiren exploded the pretty black hole, and as the area cleared, they saw Super Buu, tentacles swinging from his back as a halo-like light appeared behind him. Jiren and everyone else began to charge their ki to blast down at Buu, but Goku and Gohan stood up. They knew that Buu could still be helped. If they killed him, then surely they would kill everyone else within too. Jiren scoffed. Some of his pride troopers were in there, but surely this was the cost. But as he rose his arm up again, Toppo grabbed it. He said that the Saiyans were right. They needed to find a way to free them first. Perhaps the Super Dragon Balls? No, they can't count on Zeno to give them to them. With no other recourse, Jiren yelled at everyone to fire. Blasts rained down like bullets, even though Toppo, Goku, and the others were trying to stop them. But as the storm dissipated, Buu remained floating above everyone, his aura flaring, showing the faces of those absorbed: Kale, 18, Frieza, and many other figures from the various universes. Jiren was perplexed. He had never faced an opponent like this. They turned to see as the remaining pieces of Buu that remained began to form into their own little Buus, each wearing different outfits representing the absorbed fighters. The main Buu cackled.
This is my chance. Now mortals will know what real godhood looks like. Lord Zeno, look upon the glorious might of Majin Buu. No, the might of Zamasu.
A thunder strike burst through the middle of the arena as Buu began to attack. Goku, Jiren, Vegeta, and Hit all focused on the main monster, as the rest tried their best to get rid of the others and avenge their allies. Android 17 was caught in the middle of a fight against one representing Android 18. He hated having to fight his own sister, especially when Buu used her face to stop an attack. Gohan and Trunks fought side by side against the Frieza one, who glowed a golden hue, though not everyone was lucky enough to avoid it. Goku explained that Buu's regeneration is impossibly effective, but above that, within him lives an immortal being. Vegeta interrupted, saying that it was actually a rogue Kai from Universe 10. Jiren was shocked and An evil Kai? Why hadn't he ever heard of this? Before he got any chance to act, a blast came between them. They dodged, as Hit screamed out that they don't have any more time to waste. The team burst into their most powerful states, with Goku wishing he could use Ultra Instinct again. The battle began with a ferocious charge between Goku and Hit, as the assassin admitted that he had wanted to beat up Majin Buu for a while, ever since he beat him in the Universe 6 tournament. But Buu had a counter, swiping his head tentacle across, displaying Frieza's brutal strength and Ribrianne's magical abilities by launching a wave of heart-shaped ki bullets. Vegeta dove through the blasts, landing a few heavy blows, but Super Buu simply regenerated. Super Buu seemed to be growing more and more erratic, surely because of Kale's berserk state. Jiren and Buu clashed in the middle when Vegeta and Goku rushed from either side and kicked Buu in an X, but the Majin's shape simply shifted to avoid them. They were just a distraction, as Hit came from behind like a bolt of fire. Buu responded with his own time skip, avoiding the kick and morphing around the assassin to absorb him. Jiren sliced through Buu to free him. Meanwhile, Caulifla stood in the back. She felt helpless. She should have been able to take care of herself. She cursed out loud. She dug into her pocket, looking at the Potara earrings Champa gave her and Kale. No doubt, if she was here, they could fuse into the Ultimate Saiyan and kick this Buu guy into the curb. But Vegeta snapped her out of it, yelling at her to watch out as the floor beneath her was turned into chocolate. She dodged, but thought of something. As she flew out to support Goku while he fired blast alongside Vegeta and Jiren, she spoke, asking if she can trust them. Jiren argued that it's their fault they're in this situation, but Caulifla didn't care. If she closed her eyes, she could sense Kale within Buu. She didn't care if this monster had to go down, but she wanted Kale back. As they finally pushed Buu back for a split second, Goku turned to look at her and told her that she can trust them. They will get everyone back. That was a promise. She took a deep breath and showed Goku the Potara, surprised to see that they already knew what this was. Goku thanked Caulifla and grabbed them. He called Vegeta's name and threw one at him. Buu saw a glimpse of this and fired a ki ball at it, just for Jiren to deflect it. Vegeta caught the Potara with surprise. He knew this was their best bet. He still hated it, but with a simple nod to Goku, he placed it on. Something that looked like a small galaxy exploded in the middle of the stage, as from it, Vegito was born. Buu laughed maniacally.
What mortals had to rely on to even get a fraction of his power. A cheap copy of the glory of the gods.
But that thought was cut short as Vegito appeared in front of Buu. I know our friend Buu is still in there somewhere, but that doesn't mean I won't belt the others out of ya. In a flash, Vegeta punched Buu in the stomach as he went flying into the center pillar. All the other Buus left their own battles to try and attack him, but Jiren, Hit, and Vegito all rose up together, fighting the monsters side by side. The Pride Trooper was impressed by this warrior. But would it be enough? Even after slicing clean through Buu, the fight was not easy for Vegito. The three warriors retreated back down, cupping their hands together to blast at Buu. As they did this, Caulifla and Gohan noticed something. The piece of Buu that was fighting Gohan was about to jump at the three warriors from behind. Jiren quickly turned to stop it as Caulifla and Gohan rushed to save them. Caulifla reached them just in time to watch as Vegito did something unexpected. Hit used time skip to try and escape, only to see Vegito look at him with a smirk. He had a plan? Caulifla reached them as well, as Vegito created a ki orb around them all, with a piece of Buu enveloping them and dragging them within himself. The crowd fell silent. It was really over. With the big three absorbed, their hopes of winning had been sliced. The universes were doomed. Gohan and Trunks cried out. Kappa refused to believe that Caulifla, Hit, and Kale were gone, while Toppo swore to stop Buu. But the monster's laugh began to crack the pocket reality, claiming himself to be the new Omni King. He could feel power running through his veins, and soon enough, he would absorb him too. But Gohan realized something. As Toppo's aura erupted to rush in and fight, he stopped Trunks from running in too, because Buu's clothes hadn't changed. In reality, within Buu, the ki orb landed. Jiren, Hit, Vegito, and Caulifla were all safe and sound within him. Jiren grabbed Vegito by the shirt and shook him. What was his deal? Was he working with Buu? Hit interrupted by saying that if he was, they wouldn't be talking. It seemed like they were inside the monster. This place is similar to the one we saw in Dragon Ball Z, but with echoes of Zamasu throughout. It was a dark and gloomy place, removed from all hope. This was the reason why Zamasu had such an impact on Buu. When he absorbed him, Zamasu was already spreading through the universe. By taking the god into himself, Zamasu completely filled Buu. Caulifla was already walking ahead of everyone. She didn't want to be there, but if this was how they would save Kale, then so be it. They all followed the key signatures, but they knew that danger was ahead. As suddenly, Caulifla caught sight of a familiar figure in the distance, Kale. With a burst of speed, she ran towards her friend, arms outstretched for a hug, but instead of being embraced, she was slapped across the face and into the wall. This was not Kale, but a ghostly replica infused with Buu's energy. The shock of the betrayal and realization dawned on Caulifla as she touched her cheek, but she knew this wasn't Kale, and she wasn't going to allow her to use her best friend's face against her. Vegeta knew what was going on as more ghost warriors appeared. Frieza, 18, Ribrianne, and Dispo, each exuding a hostile energy. Vegeta smirked, stepping forward to engage Frieza and 18 simultaneously. It was a flurry of punches and energy blasts. He didn't like having to fight his friends, but he had to admit he was having fun. It was clear to Vegeta that he'd be able to push them to the edge and defeat them. As the intensity of the fights escalated, the time limit of the fusion ended. Vegeta defused back into Goku and Vegeta, and now each had to face their individual opponent. Though the defusion surprised them, Goku wasted no time in bursting into Super Saiyan Blue to continue the fight against Frieza, but Golden Frieza was something else. It was a tough battle, but seeing the way Caulifla was struggling against Kale, Goku knew he had to win and help her. At that moment, for a second, Goku burst into Ultra Instinct Omen and punched Frieza out of existence. At the same time, Vegeta faced 18, and with a barrage of energy blast combined with Super Saiyan Blue evolution, he took down the android. Caulifla was the one having the most trouble, having to face her closest friend. She just kept on hesitating when attacking, and for a second there, tears actually blurred her vision. Just as Kale's replica prepared a devastating blow, Goku intervened, shouting encouragement, and together with their combined powers, they fired a Kamehameha and an energy burst cannon to finally subdue this twisted version of Kale. Jiren confronted Dispo with a silent, grim determination. Dispo's speed was incredible, but Jiren's sheer power and ability allowed him to predict his movements, catching Dispo mid-dash and immobilizing him with a powerful grip. With a subdued expression, Jiren whispered an apology before delivering a knockout blow. Hit, meanwhile, faced Ribrianne, whose love-themed attacks seemed almost comical against the time skip and the seriousness of Hit, but she wasn't to be underestimated. Finally, with a well-timed time skip and cage, he landed a decisive blow, ending the battle. On the outside, Super Buu unleashed havoc against the remaining warriors, who stood up bravely against him. The sky above the world of Void flickered with energy. The gods wanted to intervene, but the Grand Priest made it clear that this was not allowed. Beerus was getting desperate. Toppo had unleashed his God of Destruction form, launching destructive energy at Super Buu, but his regeneration was unmatched. 17 and Piccolo combined their attacks, creating openings for Bergamo, Kaba, and the others. He continued to try incense for Vegeta within Buu, when suddenly his eyes widened.
The fusion. It's undone.
He said telepathically to everyone.
They're fighting from inside to free everyone.
Toppo was surprised by this revelation. The idea of Jiren being part of an effort to not just save his universe but everyone.
Jiren, the greatest hero.
He murmured in response to Piccolo. Now that they knew the fighters were okay, they were fighting with hope. Inside Buu, Jiren and the others felt Piccolo's message ripple through their consciousness. The Grey felt an unfamiliar surge of connection to his allies outside. Hearing Toppo's faith in him, it softened his demeanor. For a moment there, he allowed himself to truly feel as part of a team, as he continued further into Buu, finally reaching the core. It was a grotesque gallery of the absorbed, their forms partially fused into the walls and floors of Buu's inner sanctum. At the heart of the chamber was an ominous cocoon, where merged Zamazu's essence glowed. Beside it, Grey Buu loomed silently. Caulifla's eyes locked onto Kale. The entire chamber shrouded violently, as outside, Buu was weakened and struck by blasts from Gohan and Trunks. Suddenly, a colossal face of Zamazu materialized, changing into Super Buu.
Fools! This is my domain. I don't need your disgusting body if I can just control you instead. I'll sacrifice this if it means killing you and Trunks.
From Zamazu's own cocoon, something was released. Another being who laid on the ground before rising and looking at Goku. They stared each other down before the new Goku's eyes sparkled red, and he attacked. Out of thin air, two ghost warriors, one of Zamazu and one of Super Buu, attacked the others. Jiren, Hit, and Goku sprang into action. As the battle raged, Vegeta and Caulifla worked frantically to free more fighters. Vegeta, grumbling with every fiber of his being, finally reached Frieza, and with a scowl, ripped the tyrant off the wall. Each extraction seemed to drain Super Buu a little bit more. As each warrior was freed, Zamazu's cocoon began to pulsate more and more, screaming not to release Zamazu. The pressure of having to fight himself once again, a being who matches movements one-to-one, began to surge something within Goku, as Zamazu continued to yell in the distance that he is nothing, that he hated having to use a mortal like him to achieve his goal, that no matter what, he will never reach the gods. At that moment, a flame reignited within Goku. He could really see himself reflected in this other Goku, one who is a slave to the gods, unlike himself, who saw them as challenges for him to reach. He almost felt bad for him, and though their powers were similar, this new Goku was obviously weaker. But if they didn't get rid of the Ghost Warriors fast, then those on the outside will suffer even greater. At that moment, Goku reignited Ultra Instinct, pushing back against the enemies. Together, they all launched a coordinated assault. Jiren yelled at Goku to focus on Zamazu while they attacked the bad guy Goku, a little too enthusiastically, as if they were really mad at him for some reason. Something Jiren and Hit noticed was that compared to the other Ghost Warriors they were fighting before, who did not seem to have access to their full moveset, this Goku seemed more agile, smarter, and creative when it came to attacks. It took more from Jiren and Hit than they expected, but together they were able to subdue the Super Saiyan God once Vegeta joined in the fight to gloat about knowing his weakness, leaving him in the dust. Meanwhile, the Zamazu and the Super Buu clone attacked Goku and Caulifla, standing back to back. Caulifla struggled against the Zamazu clone, while the Super Buu clone continued to attack Goku, accidentally turning a cell into chocolate. All the Ghost Warriors tried to stop Goku, but the Saiyan swiftly moved between each attack, until finally reaching Zamazu. The ghosts of Super Buu and Zamazu jumped at him from behind, but Jiren, Hit, Caulifla, and Vegeta all got in the way, unleashing their own attacks to keep them at bay. Now it was up to Goku, getting a hold of the Zamazu cocoon and ripping it off, as all the Ghost Warriors dissipated. Outside, Super Buu was in agony. Toppo thought that this was their chance, but Gohan stopped them. He approached the monstrous figure. Buu, you have to remember who you are. You have friends who care about you. Mr. Satan, B, all of us. Buu initially resisted, lashing out in pain and confusion, but the mention of his friends, especially Mr. Satan and B, something within himself stirred. His eyes, filled with turmoil, met Gohan's and whispered,
Gohan.
A flicker of the Buu they knew. Buu began to tear himself apart, trying to expel out the malicious influence of Zamazu.
I want chocolate. I want to fight Goku. I want to see Mr. Satan. I want Zamazu out.
His voice echoed across the arena, a blinding light enveloping him. At the exact same time, Zamazu yelled at the team inside that mortals are foolish for pushing away their own savior. Screams and steam filled the room. Everything began to shake. Everything gods can do, we mortals can too. But they needed to get out of there. The steam was filling up. Just then, Piccolo's voice echoed in their minds.
What's happening in there?
Goku explained, but now they had no way to escape. The pores seemed to close off with the steam. Zamazu's last gambit was frying them all within Buu. That's when Jiren stepped forward.
I have a plan. Tell Toppo to prepare an attack from the outside. On my signal, we'll synchronize and blast Buu apart from both sides.
Toppo was initially hesitant, fearing the risk of harming those inside, but Jiren replied,
Remember our missions, Toppo. Trust is the foundation. You taught me that. I trust you.
Toppo realized the change in Jiren. They all began to gather their energy, but the first attempt faltered. The sync was just off. Time was slipping away. In a spark of inspiration, Goku started a rhythmic chant, one which nearly caused Vegeta to barf. Super Buu's form, overwhelmed by the coordinated blast, shuddered violently. However, just as they rushed out of there, Goku noticed something on the floor. It kinda looked like himself, as if his body was laying at the foot of Pure Evil Buu's cocoon. The steam made it look like the body disappeared like the Ghost Warriors. As Buu exploded from both sides, the fighters were propelled outwards, and as the dust settled, the saviors emerged. Scattered around the remnants of the arena, they were battered, but alive. Buu was now in a normal state, laying nearby, confused but no longer under the influence of Zamasu. Toppo approached Jiren, clapping him on the shoulder, while Caulifla hugged Kale. And Dispo reunited with the troopers. 18 chastised 17 for not going in there, and Frieza simply stood back up, crossing his arms. He hated having to be saved by the Saiyans. But it was all interrupted as Zeno clapped happily. This tournament went far beyond his expectations. With teamwork like that, there may not be a need to destroy any universe. Even the gods of destruction and the angels clapped at the display, as commanded by the Grand Priest. Unity, for once, was achieved between universes, all for the sake of saving their friends. Jiren began to walk towards Buu, alongside the Pride Troopers. He needed to be punished, but the Z Fighters stood up to them. He wasn't the issue, he was under control of an evil god.
Evil?
They turned to see the deformed merged Zamasu twisting, his face still sliced in half, with energy pouring out.
My dream was the perfect reality.
The fighters got information to fight, only to watch as Zamasu laughed and began to melt down, turning into pure energy as his face spread through the world of void. He was becoming one with it. The gods of destruction got ready to attack, but Zeno told them to stop. He smiled as he rose above them all, his unlimited power filling the universe. Zamasu's screams echoed. The last thing they saw before they reappeared was Zeno destroying the entire world of void, with Zamasu remaining inside. It was all over. As the fighters from various universes were teleported to Universe 11 alongside the Super Dragon Balls, the Pride Troopers circled around Buu. Gowazu even stood up, vouching for Super Buu, saying that if anything, this is his fault, as that was his student that corrupted Buu. Zeno wondered if he should erase him because of that, but Universe 7 and a few others told him that maybe that's a little drastic. Everything's taken care of now. Goku also vouched for Buu, saying that he may have started as a villain, but thanks to his many friends on Earth, he's turned into a good guy and has helped against evildoers many times. If anything, Frieza's really the bad one here. Jiren's eyes softened, considering Goku's words.
If Goku believes in his redemption, I will trust his judgment for now.
His gaze shifted to Buu, who slowly regained his senses. But his stomach then growled, wishing he had turned the entire world of void into candy instead. But still he apologized. It was Goku who clapped him gently on the back, reassuring him, "We're just glad to have you back." The Grand Priest announced that the Super Dragon Balls were to be awarded to Jiren for his crucial role of leadership. Jiren stood before them, their glow reflecting through his eyes. He remembered his initial wish to resurrect his master, to seek vengeance, but everything had changed.
I wish for the restoration of the universe that was destroyed. Let them have another chance, as we have ours.
As the wish was granted, a new light shone across the faces of those present.
This tournament was really fun. Let's see how the universes continue to grow and change.
Goku turned to Jiren and hit, grinning. Next time we meet, let's test our strength as friends. Really see how far we can push each other. Jiren nodded and smiled.
I look forward to that day, Son Goku.
The fighters returned to their universes, and they all celebrated at Universe 7. For some reason, Super Buu did keep the turtle gi on. He didn't really think much of it. He was just kinda happy he had such an incredible fight, from what he remembered, of course. And he hoped to see them again. But his stomach growled. His priorities was definitely some Paozu cooking. As Future Trunks ate, he looked around, realizing just how lucky he was to have this new family. He knew his time in the present was limited, so he should enjoy it while he can. Being around Super Buu still made him nervous, but the way he acted around Gohan and Mr. Satan put him at ease. Though he still seemed a little too eager to fight, saying that he wants one more good match, maybe against the Great Saiyaman, Gohan suggested, suiting up and flying off to give the citizens a good spectacle. Trunks only hoped that everyone could have a little bit of peace. But the adventures aren't over just yet. Next, what if Super Buu turned good? With Frieza revived, he wants to find a way to not only defeat Goku, but humiliate Super Buu after his defeat in Resurrection F. Getting turned into candy was probably worse than getting cut into pieces by Trunks. Buu is sleeping at Mr. Satan's house while Goku and Vegeta train at Bulma's Island. The Majin has been challenging Goku, Vegeta, and Gohan over and over again, so now he's gone to sleep. They've realized that he's been really eager to fight ever since the Tournament of Power, though he runs out of steam quite often. It isn't long before Broly Broly arrives on Earth with the Frieza Force, and the fight begins. Everything goes on as normal, with Broly fighting Vegeta and later Goku, exploding into his Ikari state, his muscles bulging and eyes glowing with raw fury. The ground trembles, fissures cracking open under the sheer pressure. Goku braces himself. Despite his best efforts, he's starting to get pushed back. Each of Broly's punches feel like a mountain crashing down on him, and stopping him with the God Bind didn't really mean anything. It's clear that although Broly isn't one to really fight, he wants to brawl Goku. Meanwhile, at Mr. Satan's home, Super Buu is resting peacefully, when suddenly his eyes snap open, and a wide grin spreads across his face. The prospect of such powerful energy excites him greatly. Mr. Satan notices Buu's sudden change in demeanor, looking concerned and asking what's going on. Buu could feel everything, with Broly charging a massive energy sphere. Many other Z fighters could feel it too, but with Goku and Vegeta around, they knew they could handle it. Super Buu, on the other hand, had something else in mind. Buu jumps up in excitement.
Strong guy! Buu wants to fight a strong guy!
Mr. Satan shouts at him to slow down, but Buu is already gone, teleporting away with a burst of pink energy. The impact of the departure creates a small shockwave, leaving Mr. Satan bewildered and knocked into the fridge. As Broly gets ready to launch down the energy sphere, Goku, Vegeta, and the others turn to see a noise coming their way. It was Majin Buu yelling over and over again,
Mine, 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 mine!
and punching Broly across the face and into a mountain. Buu's aura flared a blue color, creating a massive crater upon landing. The energy sphere breaks apart over them, raining down like bullets. Vegeta rushes to cover Bulma, while Goku face palms.
Strong guy! Buu want to fight strong guy!
Goku was distracted by Buu's sudden appearance, asking him what he's doing here, before Broly rushes out of the mountain with a ginormous punch towards Buu. The explosion actually breaks Buu apart, but he simply regenerates around Broly's fist. Goku and Vegeta are afraid that he's going to try to absorb him, but to their surprise, he doesn't. Instead, he twists his body to throw Broly up to the sky.
Damn it, Buu, we were handling this.
Vegeta growls.
You've had your fun. It's time for Buu to fight now.
Buu replied, not waiting for any response. He immediately charges in at Broly again, his limbs stretching unnaturally as he attacks. Broly's caught off guard by Buu's sudden assault, instinctively countering with powerful punches, which create giant shockwaves rattling around the area. But Buu instantly regenerates, laughing with glee. Goku and Vegeta were slightly worried. Ever since the Tournament of Power, Buu had been acting a little strange. Not I hate all mortals strange, but strange nonetheless. In fact, he'd been requesting a lot more Pautsu cooking lately too. But above everything, Goku and Vegeta were extremely annoyed. They were having a lot of fun fighting Broly by themselves. They didn't need Buu around. Too often did he steal the spotlight. Although they appreciated him for training and his enthusiasm when it came to fighting, they also kinda wished that he wasn't so gung-ho about intervening in things. Despite his immense power, Broly is taken aback by Buu's resilience and unpredictable fighting style. Buu's body twists and contorts as he dodges Broly's attacks, retaliating with his own elastic punches and kicks. It wasn't often when someone would push Buu to be as creative as possible. Even so, despite Buu's strength and regeneration abilities, Broly's power was still overwhelming, and it only seemed to grow stronger. They needed a new strategy to handle things. Buu, listen, don't absorb Broly. Buu, while dodging Broly's punches, looks back at Goku by twisting his head all the way around.
Buu won't absorb this strong guy. Buu wants to fight strong people and get stronger on my own.
Goku and Vegeta exchange glances, both slightly annoyed but also understanding. They felt the same way, realizing that they needed to work together to bring Broly down. Goku was also disappointed because he had an idea on how to get even stronger and fight Broly on equal terms. But with Buu around, it seemed like they may actually win. That was until Frieza realized this too. With rage burning in his eyes, the Emperor turned to look at Paragus, getting ready to fire a death beam. It was nothing personal, he just really hated Buu. But Vegeta noticed this, appearing before Frieza and slapping his hand away, the death beam shooting up to the sky and exploding. This caught the fighter's attention. Looking down, as Frieza shrugged, he just wanted Broly to get stronger. Surely you Saiyans would enjoy a fiercer battle. Vegeta scolded Frieza, telling him that he should kill him right then and there. But this pause in battle proved to be a mistake, since Buu heard everything. If getting rid of that other Saiyan would make Broly stronger, then this was worth it. With a whip of his antenna, Buu launched a candy beam. Both Frieza and Vegeta jumped out of the way. At first, Frieza got ready to attack as well, thinking it was meant for him, when they turned around to see Paragus be turned into a little piece of chocolate. Everyone's eyes widened as they looked at Broly, who exploded into a Super Saiyan. Vegeta cursed under his breath, grabbing the chocolate and throwing it at Bulma, telling him to take care of it for now. He was going to rush up to continue the fight when Goku grabbed his arm and told him that he has a better idea, taking the chance to teleport over to Piccolo, who could teach them the fusion dance. Buu stretches his arms, wrapping them around Broly and squeezing tightly, but Broly simply roars, his muscles bulging as he breaks free from Buu's grip. Before Buu can regenerate, Broly grabs his outstretched limb and drags him in, firing a mouth blast directly at Buu's face, but the Majin reacts just in time as he anticipates the attack and uses instant transmission to teleport behind Broly, landing a powerful kick to Broly's back and sending him flying. Broly instantly recovers and charges in, their fists colliding in mid-air. Broly's anger reaches an apex from the mere frustration of fighting Buu and explodes into full-power Super Saiyan. Instantly, Broly gains the upper hand, forcing Buu to do something incredible. As he's in Broly's grasp, Buu screams out,
Kaioken!
his body sizzling and burning from the strain, pushing Broly off and landing a barrage of energy blasts. Goku can sense this power-up while with Vegeta and is completely taken aback. Even so, Buu can't maintain it for long. With a regular body like Goku's, the Kaioken puts a lot of strain on him, but with Buu's body, it's almost like it's burning him inside out. Thankfully, his regeneration can keep up for now, but if he pushes himself further, he may burn himself to a crisp. Buu swings around the area, charging a Kamehameha, teleporting before Broly and firing it. Broly responds with his own mouth blast. The collision in the middle causes a huge explosion that sends both of them away. Shockwaves continue to sound off across the snowy landscape. The two stand before each other, screaming out and powering up their auras, with Buu once again using the Kaioken. Buu rushes towards Broly, but as they're about to clash again in the middle, Buu's body molts away, dodging Broly's attack and turning into a ball, striking him over and over again, until Broly gets a hold of the ball and slams his head into it over and over, digging Buu into the ground. Before Broly can continue, Buu digs underground and reappears above the snow, cracking his neck and saying that he's definitely the strongest guy he's fought. If it wasn't for his regeneration, then he'd be in trouble. The intense clash between Buu and Broly continues when the air suddenly ripples with a surge of powerful energy. Goku and Vegeta had successfully fused into Gogeta and appeared in the middle of the battlefield, catching Broly and Buu's fists right before they clash again.
It's time to end this. Buu, leave this to me.
But Buu cocked an eyebrow, sensing the overwhelming strength emanating from Gogeta. His excitement grows even more.
You're strong. Buu wants to fight you too.
A wide grin across his face. Broly roared, forcing Gogeta and Buu to jump back.
Look, Buu, we have to stop Broly first. He's too dangerous. We got to get him under control.
But Buu is already rushing towards him. He's too excited to hold back, charging towards Gogeta with a wild grin. He stretches his arms, aiming for a powerful punch to Gogeta's face. The fusion is taken aback for a second, but blocks the attack with his forearm.
Calm down, Buu. Listen to me.
Broly was coming from one side and Buu from the other. Gogeta jumped up to the sky, forcing the other two into a clash in the middle, before they both looked up and fired their own beams at Gogeta.
Buu wants to fight strong people. Buu wants to get stronger.
Gogeta sighs, realizing that Buu won't be swayed, while dodging the blasts.
Alright, if you want to fight so badly, then let's do this. It could be fun.
With Gogeta accepting, the battle royale commenced. Gogeta takes on both Broly and Buu, moving with incredible speed and precision. His strikes are powerful and deliberate, each one designed to keep both of his opponents at bay. Instantly bursting into Super Saiyan Blue, Broly focused his efforts on Gogeta, but each of the strikes is met with a counterattack, sending him reeling. Buu throws himself into the fray, morphing his body to attack from multiple angles, stretching his limbs and firing energy blasts. But Gogeta anticipated all the moves, dodging and countering with ease.
Goku and Vegeta always love fighting you, Buu, but you're going to need more than tricks to beat me.
The battlefield becomes a whirlwind of energy as Gogeta, Broly, and Buu engaged in this all-out brawl. But Gogeta's power is above them all. He blocks Broly's powerful punches, while at the same time reflecting Buu's unpredictable blasts. The cracks of reality around them begin to fall apart. Broly rose up to the sky, unleashing a rain of blasts. Gogeta avoided them as he approached Broly, but Buu had the same idea, as at the same time Gogeta and Super Buu burst a punch directly into Broly's face, crossing like an X as they left an explosion behind. moment. Immediately, Buu sensed the chance, teleporting behind Gogeta to throw a powerful punch, but Gogeta sensed it, spinning around to block it, kicking Buu flying off.
You're both strong, I'm just stronger.
But Buu quickly recovered, as did Broly. All three of the warriors looked at each other before Broly roared and began rushing in towards Gogeta. Buu did the exact same thing, as Gogeta in the middle moved his arms up, creating two ki balls on each palm, making them dance together around him. Gogeta was about to take their attack head on. Just as they both reached him, he ducked and placed the ki balls on both of their chests, exploding out in a radiant light. The explosion is blinding, its force shaking the entire area. Gogeta knew that they were both nearly out of the fight. He tried to tell them that they don't have to keep fighting anymore. It's clear who the victor is. Buu's stomach started to growl. The fusion had to end this now. As Buu tried to recover, Gogeta appeared above him, kneeing him in the face, knocking him to the ground and stepping on him, grabbing him by the head and stretching him out.
Sorry, Buu, but I don't have time for this anymore.
And using the pink monster as a makeshift bow and arrow, aiming as Broly slowly got up in a daze and shooting him out full of ki directly into his forehead. The two monsters knocked each other out, laying on the snow as things finally settled down. Gogeta slowly approached the pair as Sheila and Lemo got ready to summon the dragon and wish Broly away in order to save him. But Gogeta spun on his heel, telling them to stop. Broly can't leave without his father, but Frieza, he should leave now. Sheila and Lemo were confused, and as Frieza attempted to leave with the Dragon Balls, Gogeta just grabbed his arm. Frieza rolled his eyes and stepped back into the spaceship. The fusion was undone as Vegeta kicked Buu to wake him up and drag him towards Bulma so he can undo the spell on Paragus. Sheila and Lemo comforted Broly, who was confused and apprehensive towards Goku, but slowly they all relaxed, as Goku explained that they can help them, and asked just what everyone's deal was. As soon as Paragus was returned to his regular self, his eyes met Vegeta's, and he launched himself to attack the Saiyan Prince. But Paragus's punch didn't even cross past his aura. Vegeta said that if he wanted to kill Paragus and Broly, then he would have let Buu turn them into candy. Paragus turned to look at Buu, who stuck his tongue out and made him jump back, falling on himself. Remembering what it was like to eat chocolate, Vegeta slowly approached Paragus, to which Broly sprung up to defend his father. But to his surprise, Vegeta instead extended out his hand.
I don't exactly know what your deal is with us, but we are some of the last Saiyans around. If you need a home, we can help.
Paragus didn't respond, he just sat there in awe. This man was nothing like his father. Paragus didn't take the hand, but he stood up on his own and nodded, calling Broly over. Sheila and Lemo were still upset at Paragus, and Goku intervened, saying that if he's to stay here, then no more of that collar business Sheila mentioned to him. Broly would have to learn self-control. Paragus wanted to argue otherwise, but he really didn't have a leg to stand on. If these people could actually help him and his son, then so be it. Buu's stomach growled, interrupting the moment. He was going to eat Paragus, but now he needs to find something else, turning to look at the Dragon Balls and cocking an eyebrow, before Goku and Vegeta burst into blue and told him not to think about it. Guess he would just have to settle for something else, like snow candy. Another chapter was closed. Buu had proven to be both a hindrance and a hero, with Goku and Vegeta happy that they can train with Broly instead of just Buu. But a huge amount of energy has been exerted from the Majin, as he finally falls asleep again, and he better get some good night's sleep, because he will be needed more than ever. Next, what if Super Buu turned good? Goku and Vegeta are training at Beerus' planet with Broly, as Paragus watches on, but suddenly they get a call from Mr. Satan. There's strange people here, whom Buu is arguing with. They are the Galactic Patrol, with Goku and Vegeta wasting no time to teleport in. Buu is happy to see them again. They've been with Broly so often that he hasn't gotten to play around with them too much. Goku tries to convince Buu to go with them, after hearing just exactly what Moro is all about. But Buu really doesn't want to. Goku tries to tell off the Galactic Patrol, telling them that Buu doesn't need to do anything he doesn't want to do. To Buu, it sounded like Goku and Vegeta were here to fight Buu instead, which caused another argument between Buu and Vegeta. Buu ponders it, but before he can respond, Mirrors appears behind him and knocks him out with a stun gun. Buu is paralyzed, as Goku and Vegeta yell at Mirrors that that wasn't okay to do, before being knocked out too. And so, the Galactic Patrol takes them all away. Mirrors and Jaco explain that a strange wizard named Moro had escaped, and is now heading to Planet Namek in search of the Dragon Balls. Long ago, the Grand Supreme Kai, who now lives within Buu, gave up a good chunk of his godly power in order to stop him. He is their only hope. Goku and Vegeta stare at Buu in confusion. Now that he mentions it, they did see a couple of strange beings within Buu that seem to have been part of him a lot longer than the others, with the Grand Kai buried deep into a wall. Miras looked at them all weird, but he didn't really question it. Right now, they needed to wake up Buu in order to stop Moro. Vegeta kicks Buu to wake him up, with Majin jumping to his feet and asking if they're ready to fight. But Miras instead requested his help. Buu really wasn't in the mood for this. He just wanted a fight with Goku and Vegeta, not some wizard. They continue to argue, telling him that Moro is really powerful, and Buu finally decides to see for himself, closing his eyes to try and sense Moro. He locates him, as Moro notices him too, and turns his head to look at Buu. The Majin is taken aback, but he shrugged. Moro's energy was incredibly malicious, but he didn't seem that strong. He was old and decrepit. Goku, on the other hand, was much more worried about what Moro represented. They asked Buu again if he'd like to help, but Buu scoffed. Goku and Vegeta had been spending so much time with Broly that they don't come visit Buu anymore. He just wants to fight strong guys. If they're not gonna fight him, then surely Broly will. Without saying anything else, Buu teleports to Beerus' planet. Goku and Vegeta were left with their mouths hanging. Buu had always been troublesome, but thankfully they were still around. They could take care of Moro in no time. At Beerus' planet, Buu yawned and stretched, looking for a fight against Broly. Whis was making him meditate, when suddenly Buu interrupted the deep peace he was in with a ginormous scream that tore apart time and space for a split second before closing back up. Buu wanted to fight no matter what. Whis was just annoyed at the interruption, but allowed it. Broly himself had wanted to fight Buu for a while, though this time Whis would be coaching him, so he wouldn't lose complete control. Meanwhile, on planet Namek, the events go similar to the original story. Vegeta battles Moro in order to defend the Namekians, but slowly realizes his power is being stolen and eaten by Moro. At first, they're confident that they can take him down, but eventually the heroes have to acknowledge the fact that they can't win at this rate, as Moro consumes more and more of the planet's energy. As in the manga, Goku and Vegeta are ultimately defeated but saved by the Namekians. Moro continues to look for the Dragon Balls, and a few days pass, with Buu still at Beerus' planet eating and sleeping. Whis has noticed peculiar things about Buu, such as his blazing blue aura, and the way he just wants to fight strong guys. He was like an extreme version of somebody else he knew. Whis went on to ask Buu why he didn't want to help his friends, to which Buu responded by saying that he just wants to fight. Goku and Vegeta had been his friends for a long time, but as soon as Broly came along, they just started hanging out with him instead. Whis couldn't believe that this actually bothered Buu so much, but he had to remember, he was a force of nature. None of them really understood him, though Whis did have an idea of what was going on within him. To his surprise, Broly stood up and apologized for taking so much of Goku and Vegeta's time. He sure was a handful and needed a lot of help with training. Buu just crossed his arms and looked away, but his stomach growled alongside Broly's. Whis asked Buu politely for a banquet, creating a set of rocks for Buu to turn into food. The Majin accepted, though he gave Whis, Paragus, and Broly smaller portions. Beerus eventually came out as well, and stole a lot of Buu's food, which nearly caused a fight. While eating, Broly told Buu that he wished he could go help Goku and Vegeta. They had been so kind to him, but he knows he can't, as his power is far from perfect. Buu listens closely, which surprises Whis. He was sure of it now. Buu wasn't alone in there. Even if his main goal was getting stronger and fighting tougher opponents, he had something deep inside that made him care for the others. Broly told Buu that if he decides to go, then to belt one into Moro for him. Buu smirked, saying that if Goku and Vegeta are having so much trouble, then maybe this Moro guy is worth it. Whis reminded Buu to check in with the Galactic Patrol first. He thinks Buu could get even stronger with Miras' help. Buu cocked an eyebrow, realizing there's something between Whis and Miras which the angel wasn't telling him. But he finally agreed and teleported over to Miras. The patroller nearly had a heart attack upon seeing Buu, but the Majin said that he was finally here to help out. Miras was worried they needed the Grand Kai, but he thought of something: the Galactic Patrol Hypnotist. This is actually how Buu was able to unlock the Grand Kai in the original manga, though we don't actually see it happen, it's just mentioned. Either way, Buu is impatient, but accepts to sit in for a bit, as slowly he's put in a trance. Memories, visions coming to him. But to the hypnotist and Miras' surprise, the Grand Kai wasn't alone. On planet Namek, Goku and Vegeta have come together again to continue fighting Moro, though things weren't looking great, as not only was their power getting stolen, but Moro's wish to restore his magic and free the galactic prisoners had been granted. Now they're on their way, as all hope seems lost. Buu, Miras, and Jakku arrive. Buu stands tall and proud, a cape similar to the one he used to wear sitting on his shoulder. His presence feels slightly different than the one they're used to, but they're glad to have him here. He turns to look at Goku and smirks at him with a thumbs up, which confuses the Saiyan. Buu bursts towards Moro. It's clear why Buu was needed now. None of Moro's power absorption really worked on him, but Goku thought it went well beyond that. The way Buu was acting and handling himself was more centered, less chaotic, yet unpredictable as ever in fighting. Mirrors revealed what occurred. The patrol's hypnotist had unlocked the Grand Kai's memories and soul within Buu. Goku understood now why Buu was so different, but as the Majin continued to beat the wizard, Mirrors said that it wasn't all. He also unlocked something else within Buu. Goku cocked an eyebrow as he turned to look at Buu, who screamed out,
Kaioken times 20!
He thought that maybe Buu was just copying him before, but it was more than that, wasn't it? Buu was driving Moro absolutely crazy. His insane moves were smarter than ever before, as he bounced around all over the place, turned himself into a ball, turned things into candy, even used a tree as a baseball bat to try and smash Moro, with Moro launching the lava from within the planet towards Buu, only for it to get turned into hot chocolate. But Moro is tired of this. Knowing he needs more power, he hides his ki and teleports away. Buu wants to go after him, but first he heals Goku and Vegeta back to full health. As they turn around to thank him, Buu's head morphs into the Grand Kai's, who says they need to stop Moro now. Before they respond, however, his face changes again into Goku. Both Goku and Vegeta jump back at the surprise, as Goku says that he's been stuck in there for a while, and that he's thankful to them for having defeated Zamasu and avenged his family, but that this isn't exactly the most comfortable position to be in. Either way, they needed to work together to stop this guy, and later they can talk about getting him out. Vegeta is terrified at what's going on, but Goku is much more welcoming, revealing that he had a suspicion about the Goku he fought within Buu, but wasn't sure if he was right until now. The team powers up and bursts towards the atmosphere. However, as they rush out, a spaceship full of prisoners arrive. Moro telepathically orders Sagambo to keep the patrollers distracted as he gives them some of his energy, but more importantly, he tells 7-3 to help him out. Goku and Vegeta were pulled back by the galactic prisoners as more and more of their power was being stolen and given to the villains. Buu continues into space, challenging Moro. Moro just groaned as he continued to collect energy from the planet. Buu uses the abilities of all the fighters within to push Moro to the brink. Goku's face says that they don't want to kill him, while Buu says that it would be a waste. So the Grand Kai has an idea, the Kai Kai Matoru, the technique that sealed away Moro's power long ago. But just as the blast is about to be fired, Buu feels someone touch the back of his neck. 7-3 got a hold of Buu, arriving just in time to steal his power and envelop the power using Buu's own ability. The Majin uses the Kaioken times 20 to escape, his body sizzling and burning off. Meanwhile, Moro takes the chance to continue absorbing the world's power. 7-3 is a formidable foe, using Buu's abilities however he can, throwing pieces of himself, extending his arms, surprisingly enough, even using the time skip. But there's something wrong. Although 7-3 can use the abilities effectively, he doesn't have the creativity or the chaos that Buu has. Now the android is struggling, and Buu starts to overwhelm him. He's just too unpredictable. 7-3 starts to fire candy beams across space, but Buu avoids them. One nearly hits Moro, which freaks him out. Moro knows if this keeps up, he's going to lose, so he has to take drastic measures. He was hoping that 7-3 would be enough, but you shouldn't send out an android to do a wizard's job. He was afraid enough of the Kai Kai Matoru and the Grand Kai to give up 7-3 and more in order to win. But for 7-3, it was almost as if his body wasn't aligned with Buu's abilities. Unlike with Piccolo and the others, who share similar physiology, Buu is just a completely different Eldritch being. As 7-3 goes to punch Buu again, he feels a force drag him back, landing on the hand of Moro, choking the android. Buu asks if he'd given up yet, only to watch as Moro eats 7-3. He can't believe the amount of power he has now, as his body changes into a more humanoid one, and Buu's antenna grows on his head. This Majin truly was a tremendous being, as tentacles stem from his back, attacking Buu, who barely manages to avoid him. The battles against Moro and 7-3 have really started to take a toll on Buu, even if he was winning. Buu cursed under his breath as the Grand Kai within realizes what's going on. They've had plenty of chances to stop Moro, but in reality, Goku and Buu wanted to enjoy the fight more than anything. Instead of just finishing things off quickly, they were in deep trouble now. While Moro's stomach began to growl, the wizard was used to eating planets, but this was a different kind of hunger, and it made him suffer. His body just wasn't made like Buu's. Moro asks, what is this? What had he been cursed with? Moro and Buu were just completely different, and Buu's eternal hunger transferred over to the wizard, the essence of chaos. Moro knew what he needed to do, and he was smarter than 7-3. He instantly rushed at Buu, his speed already far above the Majin's, kneeing him in the stomach and began to steal his energy. Buu asked himself how. This wasn't working before, but the Grand Kai realized that by having Buu's power, their magic was also matched. Buu continued to try and fight, even using the Kaioken times 20, which Goku sensed from below. Clearly Buu was in trouble, but this power-up just fed Moro more. As Buu's vision became blurred, Moro let him go with a blast to the chest. Eating Buu wouldn't be enough. He needed everything. Goku tried to catch Buu, but the key ball Moro had sent down exploded, sending everyone into different directions. Suddenly, screams came out as all of the fighters were stabbed by spikes from Moro's body. The heroes were able to free themselves. Nearly every single one of the galactic criminals was stabbed through the chest and slowly pulled up towards Moro. One by one, they were eaten. He didn't need an army, he needed to feed. A spike also pierced through Buu as Moro tried to absorb him, but Miras managed to shoot it down. Moro descended down, convulsing, speaking about how hungry he is, how he thought this power would be enough to defeat the Grand Kai, but instead, it was a curse. The Z fighters got ready to fight, but Moro had no interest, placing his hands on the ground as it began to glow pink. Goku recognized it, yelling at everyone to grab onto him and teleport just in time to the Galactic Patrol HQ, while at the same time, Planet Namek was turned into candy. Moro laughed in glee, eating every bit of it. It wasn't much, and it didn't taste great. Most of Namek's power had already been eaten by him previously. This just meant he needed to go to more worlds and eat them. And once his hunger was quenched, he would go after the Grand Supreme Kai. Goku, Vegeta, and the others tried to figure out what to do. They were worried about Buu, but Miras reassured him that he was okay. On one hand, he had used way too much energy, and now was in deep slumber. But within, the Grand Kaioshin and Goku were arguing. Goku claimed that it was an amazing fight, and that he had a lot of fun. But above all, he could have won if the Grand Kai hadn't intervened. The Kai rebutted, saying that this threat is a lot bigger than having fun. They needed to end him as quickly as possible. This argument continued, while Buu sat quietly. He was face to face with the people he had absorbed, and in essence, was having an identity crisis. Gotenks, Gohan, Trunks, Zamasu, and all the other fighters from the Tournament of Power were once a part of him. He was the sum of his parts, even if they weren't within him anymore. Sure, he liked absorbing and taking abilities, but more than anything, he liked to evolve them and make them his own. Now, he didn't even recognize himself. Who really was Super Buu? Once they arrive at the Galactic Patrol, they discuss what to do. They know they need to prepare, they know they need to get stronger, and Vegeta has his eyes set on planet Yardrat. He grabs one of the Galactic Patrollers and drags him to a ship. Goku asks what he's going to do. They need to wait until Buu wakes up. Vegeta just looks at Goku and rolls his eyes. Goku looked at Miras. He wanted to train with him. Vegeta went on his way and flew towards planet Yardrat in a Galactic Patrol spaceship. Meanwhile, Goku and Miras would train in the Time Chamber, as Goku finally realizes that Miras is an angel, and that his Ultra Instinct can be evolved with his help. Buu remains asleep, having used up far too much energy. But as Vegeta takes a nap, turbulence wakes him up. Once he opens his eyes, he notices the Galactic Patroller is absolutely terrified, looking out of the window to see various planets and space debris having been turned into chocolate all around the galaxy. The Patroller pointed at his radar, showing that planets all over have been disappearing, but by tracking Moro's trajectory, they can predict where he's going to end up. Planet is planet Yardrat, and soon after that, planet Earth. Thanks to Buu's teleportation, Moro has been able to speed up his absorption. Vegeta yelled at the Patroller to contact the Galactic Patrol, and quickly the message was sent out to Goku. Sadly, Miras and Goku hadn't spent too much time in the chamber, but whatever time they did spend in there had really helped to progress his Ultra Instinct, even if just a bit. Vegeta hated having to do this, but he had to rely on Goku's instant transmission one last time. Goku teleported into the ship, and the ship into planet Yardrat. There, Goku was able to meet up with Pibara, his old master from when he landed on Yardrat. He warned them all of the impending doom, but they refused to leave, saying that they're prohibited from teleporting anywhere but Yardrat. Vegeta hated them acting like this, but as soon as Moro teleported in, and Pibara sensed the malicious energy, he realized his
his people would die if he didn't do something about this. They won't be able to stand up against him. Together, an entire army of Yardrians began to use Force Spirit Fission on Moro as he floated above the sky, while Goku and Vegeta rushed up to him to try and continue the fight. It did start to slow down Moro, but he had absorbed so much power that it didn't make too much of a difference. Thankfully, Miras was there as well. He took Pibara aside and told him that if he doesn't teleport over to the Galactic Patrol HQ, where they can house his people for now, then his entire race will be wiped out. Pibara was confused. He didn't know why he felt this way in front of Miras. In reality, Pibara is the equivalent of Kami on planet Yardrat. Being in front of a higher deity, an angel, awoke something within him that made him finally react. He was almost scared to say no. This is similar to Shin and Piccolo in the World Tournament. Although they tried to steal as much energy as possible and give Goku and Vegeta a chance, with Goku using Ultra Instinct to the best of his abilities, it still wasn't enough. And together with his people, Pibara resorted to teleporting over to the Galactic Patrol HQ. Goku in particular was doing better than before, clearly having progressed a little bit in his training. But as Moro threatened to turn the entire world into chocolate, Miras told them that they needed to retreat. Goku hated having to escape, but with Vegeta they teleported back. The real training was about to begin. Thankfully, planets between Yardrat and Earth aren't really inhabited, and tomorrow would spend a lot of time eating after turning a world into chocolate. So they had a few days, but not many. Vegeta asked Pibara to help him train. He wanted to learn more techniques from the Yardrat. Meanwhile, Goku and Miras trained, but they were all worried about Buu. He was still asleep. Moro, having taken so much of his energy, really did a number on him. And so, finally, the day for Moro to make it to Earth arrives, with Goku, Vegeta, Pibara, and Miras ready to see the results of the training. The Yardrians remain on the Galactic Patrol HQ, as Goku, Vegeta, and Miras teleport to Earth. The skies over planet Earth darkened as the malevolent energy descended on the planet. Moro, twisted by the powers he had absorbed, hovered over the Earth. His eyes gleamed with anticipation as he raised his hand, ready to unleash the devastating candy beam. Maybe this will satisfy my hunger. He gathered his energy, a dark aura swirling around him, but before he could release the attack, a blinding flash slingshot himself towards the sky. He twisted back up to his feet as Goku floated above him, but he wasn't alone. The Z Fighters had gathered, as Piccolo promised to avenge Planet Namek, and Vegeta cracked his knuckles. Goku's Ultra Instinct Omen aura blazed up. I'm not gonna let you eat any more planets, Moro. I'm a lot stronger than the last time we met, Moro snarled. You think you can stop me? No. I'm still hungry. The two warriors stared each other down, the air between them charged with energy and anticipation, while Buu slept peacefully. Instantly, the battlefield was a storm of fire and energy, as Moro released the lava from Earth and threw it at the Z-Fighters. But the lava then turned into hot chocolate that was burning. And although it was tasty, it also burned anything in its wake. As the Z-Fighters charged at him, Moro raised his hand and summoned an army of clones by throwing pieces of himself at the Z-Fighters. Each one of them attempted to absorb the Z-Fighters, and although not nearly as powerful as the main body, they were still formidable enough to challenge the warriors. 17 and 18 fought back to back, their synchronized attacks barely keeping the clones at bay. As they took one out, another one appeared. Gohan and Piccolo charged their special beam cannons together, firing to pierce at the Moros, who just regenerated again. Krillin cut them up with a Kienzan, while Tien rushed in with a Kiko Ho to burn the clones away. Goku and Vegeta were the ones standing at the forefront, exchanging quick glances. The plan was simple. Goku would serve as distraction, fighting Moro head-on and avoiding all of his attacks, while Vegeta struck wherever he could see openings, using Force Spirit Fission to continue to drain away at Moro, punching, kicking, and blasting in every way he could. Moro's eyes gleamed in amusement as he activated the time skip, something Buu had learned long ago, dodging one of Goku's attacks with ease. He may not have Ultra Instinct, but this worked for now, especially as he time-skipped, surprising Goku, and utilizes the Kaioken times 20 to punch him in the gut. But Goku trusted his Ultra Instinct, avoiding the strike just in time. Even so, he knew this battle wouldn't be easy. Moro had too many tricks up his sleeve. Thankfully, he had dealt with all of these before. Goku gritted his teeth. Amid the chaos, two new figures appeared in the battlefield, Whis and Beerus. Broly had to stay at Beerus' realm as he wasn't allowed to intervene, in case he exploded in power.
This looks like quite a mess.
Indeed, Lord Beerus, but I don't see Buu anywhere. From a distance, Beerus watched the battles unfold, his expression focused and serious. He knew he couldn't intervene, but if it did come down to it, he would give his life up for the universe. As Vegeta continued to steal energy from Moro, he channeled all that stolen energy back into Goku. Kakarot has started to struggle with Moro's techniques, but neither of them gave up, and as more energy was siphoned away from Moro, Goku slowly gained the upper hand. The Moro clones slowly lessened and lessened, but the Z-Fighters were also extremely hurt. One by one, they fell. Seeing his friends in trouble, Goku's resolve hardened, launching himself at Moro with renewed vigor, as Vegeta continued to transfer more energy. But Moro was far from defeated, as he activated the time skip once again, dodging Goku's attack at the last second. But Goku had gotten used to the time skip, having stuck at his foot just in time to trip Moro over. Goku fired a ginormous Kamehameha at Moro as he fell. It seemed to have nearly obliterated him, but he slowly started to regenerate from the defeated clones into one single being again. Meanwhile, at the Galactic Patrol HQ, the Yardrians were watching the battle with growing concern. Pibara stepped forward, telling his people to give Buu their energy in order to wake him up. But within, Buu could feel everything going on Earth, all the anxiety the Yardrians felt, while at the same time the Kaioshin and Goku continued to argue. He was tired of it. He was tired of hearing others argue for his sake. That's when he realized something. He had handled himself just fine before that Bibbidi guy tried to control him. He didn't have to absorb anyone, he didn't have to listen to anyone. He just did as he pleased. Why was he letting these people argue what was best for him?
Enough!
But Buu, you have to listen to us. We need to defeat Moro.
And we will, but I was handling myself just fine before you two started speaking your minds. If we're going to win, you have to listen to me.
Back at the battlefield, Moro's power continued to dominate. Moro was tired of Vegeta, and one last time when he tried to punch him in the face while Goku dodged, Moro managed to dissolve his body around the punch, grab Vegeta and attempt to absorb him. Goku reached out, grabbing Vegeta by the arm and trying to pull him back, but Moro continued to spread around Goku. He was going to be absorbed too. All the Z-Fighters gathered together, pouring their energy in and grabbing whatever they could, slowly dragging Goku and Vegeta away from Moro. It was working, but they needed a bit more effort. Goku's Ultra Instinct slowly failed him, but it did allow him to remember something, what Buu had done before. Screaming out, "A Kaioken times 30! The explosion burnt off Moro of himself as he tumbled back. Goku and Vegeta were extremely hurt, all of them were, but they had managed to escape, and the energy stolen from Moro was significant. Even so, his power seemed endless. Just as all hopes seemed lost, a surge of energy washed over them. Vegeta knew that trying to steal Moro's energy wasn't going to work anymore, and poured whatever was left over to Goku. He closed his eyes and breathed in, his Ultra Instinct awakening again. But this time, it was different. It was a wide-haired version. Goku had to center himself, keep his mind at peace, despite seeing his friends hurt. He needed to do this. Moro and Goku clashed again, a cataclysmic punch that sent shockwaves rippling through the planet. And for a moment, it seemed Goku was going to win. Moro did everything he could, but his body was in a worse shape than before. He didn't even look humanoid anymore, more like a twisted being. Vegeta asked the Z-Fighters to pour in their energy and give it to him, so he can give it to Goku, as he rushed forward with his fist out, ready to burst through Moro. But Moro created barriers from his own body to slow down Goku. Every bit of energy he got, he burst through another wall, and another, but he started to slow down. He wasn't going to make it. Vegeta threw the last bit of energy. As Goku finally burst through, he was going to unleash everything into that single punch and disintegrate Moro. But as he was about to land it, he heard screams coming from behind. As all the Z-Fighters were now being engulfed by Moro's own body, the wizard had left bits of himself around the battlefield and was now dragging them towards him. The punch still landed, but it wasn't enough. Now Goku tried to help his friends as lava burst around him and meteors started to strike. Moro was throwing everything he could at the Saiyan. Upon seeing this, Miras rushed in and helped Goku free his friends. They fried all the pieces of Moro left, but the wizard jumped behind and unleashed a giant candy beam. Everyone thought this was over, but Miras, looking at Goku in the eyes as he did it, and thanking him for showing him just how beautiful the universe can be and just how amazing mortals are, the angel jumped before the beam and was turned into chocolate. Goku burst into Super Saiyan Blue. Moro responded by shooting out key rings and paralyzing Goku against the rock formation. He slowly made his way towards the Saiyan, putting a key ball right up to his neck, ready to kill him. Moro was now the ultimate wizard, the strongest warrior, but his existence would be meaningless if he didn't satisfy this hunger. In essence, this Moro is still the same one we know from the original story, just a little crazier because of this hunger that he inherited from Super Buu. His body and mind just disagreed. He slaps Goku with the other hand before putting it back out to pull the chocolate Miras towards him. The candy bar got buried underneath a rock. As Moro caught it forward, it struggled underneath it, trying to escape its captor. When it finally did, it went straight towards Moro at an incredible speed. Moro opened his mouth, closed his eyes, but the candy bar swooshed past his head. He turned to look at who was responsible, only to see Super Buu holding it in his hand and absorbing it onto himself. The Majin smirked, his cape flowing in the wind. He seemed different somehow, as if all of those within him agreed to work together. Goku, the Grand Supreme Kai, Super Buu, they were all working in unison and added one more to the list. As Super Buu absorbed Miras' candy, Buu's eyes sparkled a bright white, a brilliant aura surrounding him. He began taking slow steps towards Moro. Before the steps got faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, he pulled his fist back. But Moro, either out of terror or stupidity, burst forward to attack himself. They were about to strike each other before Buu, utilizing Miras' Ultra Instinct, spun to the side and stuck his arm out, stopping Moro in his tracks. The two were going at such speeds, exploded half of Moro's body. As he fell down from the sky, Goku took his chance, pulling his arms back for an Ultra Instinct Kamehameha and firing it at Moro. Moro was still trying to regenerate, but the pieces couldn't quite connect with each other. They were continuously being burned off. Moro was clearly messed up. Super Buu nodded at Goku. He was now one complete being.
Moro screamed out, his giant hand jumping in to grab Buu. The Majin tried to dodge, but Moro actually grabbed him by the cape at the last second. Buu was annoyed, murmuring to himself that he should have been able to avoid that easily. Buu dissolved himself to slip away from Moro's grasp and flicked himself in the head.
Hey, is the new guy causing trouble in there?
Inside of Super Buu, Miras kept on telling the others that they needed to act now and make a move to finally end Moro. But Super Buu was just focused with his eyes closed. Miras yelled at him, but both Goku and the Grand Kai appeared before Miras. The Grand Kai said, "Sorry, Lord Miras, but you're not the one in charge here." Goku continued, "I know you're a big deal," and taught the other me, "but if we don't let Buu take the helm, then this isn't going to work." Miras cocked an eyebrow in confusion before the other two fighters turned around and placed their hands on Buu's shoulders. They trusted him. Without much of a choice, he placed his hands on Moro's back, his eyes blazing black as he could now understand Super Buu. There was a rhyme and a rhythm to the chaos he brought. Outside, he dodged away from all of Moro's moves, firing a galactic donut to keep them in place, spinning in with a keyblade on his arm to cut him in half. Lightning absolution rained down on Moro as he tried to regenerate. The wizard roared, avoiding some of the lightning blasts, and finally reaching Buu, only for him to fire a special beam cannon through his mouth. With Miras' Ultra Instinct, he appeared, weaved and dodged any rebuttal. He swore to kill Goku and Buu. Suddenly, everything around them began to glow pink. Goku yelled at everyone to fly away from the ground, as Moro was about to turn everything into candy. Miras on the inside and Goku on the outside tried to tell Buu that they needed to teleport Moro away, or else Earth would suffer. But Buu instead began to charge his ki. Miras tried to get him to react, but Goku smirked at him again. He wasn't in control. Buu burst forward and into Moro, knocking his his wind out as he let go of the ground below. Goku closed his eyes to sense Buu. He was somewhere none of them could follow. As Buu rushed through a skyscraper, through clouds, even out through the atmosphere and into the sight of the moon. Moro's stomach tortured him. He had gone seconds without eating, and now he was in pure agony. But Moro couldn't free himself. Buu's ultra instinct was enough to read and move the trajectory of any blast, while still not giving up any momentum. The pair continued to fly through space, as Moro was getting desperate, and if the only way to force Buu to let him go was to blow himself up, then he would do it. Moro collected all the power he had stolen, even some of Buu's as they flew, passing by Mars in an instant. Buu was going to throw him into the sun. Moro needed to blow before that could happen. If he had to die, then it would be under his own pretenses. He'd kill Buu, not the other way around. Miraz was terrified. He could sense Moro about to explode, but right before he was about to, Buu spun and launched Moro out into the depths of space. He wasn't going to reach the sun, but he could get him as far away as possible from Earth. The wizard crashed through layers of Venus, one after the other. Just as he crashed through the other side of the planet, Moro exploded spectacularly. Buu could see it even from as far away as he was. Whispering to himself, he thanked those inside him for their help and teleported back to Earth. Once there, the Z fighters ran up to him. Goku punched him in the chest with a smile. Vegeta likewise was happy to finally breathe a sigh of relief as he closed his eyes and began to feel for the energy released, trying to turn it back to its rightful owners. Goku told Buu that he wanted to fight him like this again before releasing Miraz, which actually got him yelled at by Whis. And so, Earth was saved. Until Vegeta gasped. He took a step back. Vegeta said that the energy release was being pulled back away from him, and it was getting bigger. Moro wasn't dead. Goku turned back and sensed for what was going on. The wizard exploded over the atmosphere of Venus. It destroyed a good portion of the planet, but his bits rained down onto the world, and slowly he tried to regenerate. He was so hungry, so eager to end things the way he wanted, that he decided to have one final meal. The bits of Moro buried themselves into the planet, consuming it and becoming one with it. The Z fighters looked up to see a giant smiling grin of Planet Moro. Having become one with Venus, a giant fist came back down Earth's way, with Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, and Piccolo bursting up to stop it with whatever little energy they had left. They were able to slow it down without hurting the planet, but they themselves came crashing down. How could they defeat a monster like this? 17, 18, and the others tried to help, while Buu's heart was beating so fast that it was all he could hear. That was the peak of his strength. Now what? Goku, on the outside, made his way to Buu's side, barely holding on. Buu, we can do this if we work together.
I showed him all I had.
You're not listening to me. Ever since we met you, you've used our strength. Sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. But you learned. You evolved. I know you have full control of it now. I know they aren't informing your choices, but you know you can count on me. Buu cocked an eyebrow. I trust you. Use my strength.
But it won't be enough.
Then use mine as well. Mine too. Mine, I guess. Miraz couldn't believe what he was seeing. Humanity was really trusting this agent of chaos. Mortals were really amazing.
Alright. I was hungry anyways.
Right. King Kai, we need your help. Whis and Miraz thought this was an insane move and floated out into space to avoid it, while Buu kneeled down and the earth shook, with Goku and the others doing what they could to stop Moro. The Grand Kai within Buu smiled proudly as Buu began to stretch his body over every surface of Earth. King Kai allowed for Goku's voice to travel across the planet, telling everyone to calm down. When that didn't work, they asked for Mr. Satan's help. Earth knew of Buu. He was Satan's pupil, but he was also a longtime rival of the Great Saiyaman. Gohan's voice had to step in and tell everyone that the Great Saiyaman and Buu were now working together in this super team-up for the sake of Earth. It was still terrifying, but it eased things out. Buu's eyes glowed as he began to sink into the world. One by one, the Z fighters started to disappear, and Buu's power got stronger and stronger. The last one to be absorbed was Goku, as he looked down at the pink-covered world and smiled. He had to trust Buu. There was a brilliant flash of light that that consumed Earth and pushed planet Moro away. As Earth became one with him, the Majin rose among the stars. The moon orbits around the new Buu as Moro's eyes clear up to look at him, his body stamped with seas, mountains, cities, and more. The voices of billions sounded as Buu declared himself as the victor. The two pulled their fists back and threw a ginormous punch that shook the entire galaxy. Within, every single person found themselves in utter bliss. Goku faced his other self within Buu in battle. Vegeta found himself in a throne before he'd simply stood up and walked to a door, finding his family. Gohan studied at Piccolo's home while his master trained with Pan. Still, all their experiences, hopes, and dreams gave Buu more creativity, more excitement. The galactic battlefield trembled under the titanic clash between the planetary Moro and the Singularity Buu. The wizard roared, his hunger torturing him. He lunged at Buu, sending a barrage of asteroids hurling at him. Buu darted and weaved as he deflected the smaller rocks with precise blast. However, the larger asteroids slammed into him, sending shockwaves into his form. Moro's colossal hand outstretched, grabbing a nearby moon and crushing it with his grip. He devoured the shattered remains, his energy surging with every bite. But it wasn't enough. His eyes locked onto the sun with a sinister gleam. That would satisfy him. Moro unleashed a dark beam from his mouth, aiming to turn the sun into candy, the fabric of space itself trembling. Reacting swiftly, Buu charged forward. He reached out and grabbed his own moon, hurling into the path of the beam. It was instantly transformed into a massive candy rock, with Buu eating it before Moro could, as he powered up and unleashed a massive energy wave, blasting at Moro into an asteroid field. Yet Moro was undeterred. He tore chunks out of nearby planets and moons, devouring them with ravenous hunger. Buu, feeling the pressure, took a defensive stance, with stars and planets serving as both weapons and obstacles in their epic clash. Buu knew he had to hold on, to find a way to turn the tide of battle. As Moro launched himself at Buu and began striking his face over and over again, Buu remembered Goku's words. The trust and faith his friends had placed in him resonated with him deeply. He knew he needed to harness the power of Earth to stand a chance against Moro. He closed his eyes as Buu focused on the energies within. He felt Goku's unwavering determination, Vegeta's fierce resolve, Gohan's boundless potential, Piccolo's strategic mind, and Mira's angelic powers. As Moro threw one final punch, Buu became a blur, his aura sparkling. Buu dodged with ultra instinct. He retaliated with powerful Masenko. The blast hit Moro squarely, causing him to stagger. Buu followed by jumping over Moro, kneeing him in the back and grabbing his horns, using Vegeta's 4 Spirit Fission to steal enough energy to immediately use it as a final flash. The golden beam sliced through Moro, his regeneration continuing to struggle. Moro chased Buu around space, as the Majin left planet-sized key balls all around them, until Moro was able to blast Buu away. But Buu wasn't worried, as he flicked his finger and released all the left key balls, Piccolo's Hellzone grenade. But above all, he had to pay respects to the person that trusted him the most. As Buu charged forward and Moro tried to regenerate, the Majin kicks Moro in the face with Mr. Satan's dynamite kick. The unexpected attack caught Moro off guard. With each one of these strikes, Buu continued to spirit fission out more energy, and now it glowed behind him as a spirit bomb. Taking it in the palm of his hand, he released it towards Moro. Moro rushed back away from the spirit bomb to try and avoid it. He was going to lead it into the sun, but before he could reach it, Super Buu appeared before him, smirking as he spread himself over Moro. Buu enveloped them both. The spirit bomb reduced Moro to its most pathetic form and allowed Buu to slowly consume him. Moro howled in agony, his form destabilizing under the immense pressure. Realizing his end was near, Moro tried to reverse this and attempt to consume Buu, but the Majin's resolve was absolute, channeling the love and hope for everyone on Earth. The spirit bomb, Moro, and Venus were enveloped in the pink aura. Buu's body stretched and warped as he began to absorb the dark energy. Moro's resistance was fierce, but Buu's determination was stronger. He whispered softly, his voice carrying the weight of Earth's trust and love.
I'm sorry for your hunger, but I can free you. You will be happier this way.
Moro's form flickered and faded, his essence drawn into Buu. The dark energy was purified, transformed by the collective hope and love of Earth. Buu's form stabilized, his power now greater than ever. The cosmos fell silent as the battle concluded. Whis and Beerus smiled. Buu looked around, feeling gratitude and relief for everyone who fought to protect. He knew he would have to return Earth to the way it was before, but for now, he felt like he was truly part of something, that he could truly protect his friends. As slowly, everyone was awoken from that lovely dream and returned back to the way it was before. These battles made Buu realize that although he loved using everyone's strength, what really made him happy was evolving that power. But now he needed to evolve his own. Beerus and the other Goku were released.
Other Goku had a tearful reunion with his family, getting to spend quite a few months with them. Beerus had to bend the rules. 1 year. That's all he got. But he threw him a bone. Other Goku would be sent back to a timeline similar to his old one. And although he did spend 6 months, he also used the remaining 6 to travel across the other universes, challenging fighters like Jiren, Hit, and more. The normal Goku didn't mind. It just meant that next time he saw his opponents, they would be more of a challenge. This Goku never got a Tournament of Power, and he was quite sad about it, so he went through every universe before finally getting to return to his family.
Shin also had a fateful reunion with the Grand Kai. Being able to see his old friend after so long was amazing, and he was happy to welcome him back into the Kaioshin realm. But the Grand Kaioshin denied this. He didn't want to go back. He enjoyed not having all those responsibilities, and had accepted long ago that he was a part of Buu. Not only that, but Moro was a part of him too. They were a yin and a yang. They really complemented each other, and though Moro would remain dormant forever, he still wanted to keep an eye on him.
As the Z-Fighters all celebrate, Buu took a second to look up at the sky. Ever since he could remember, he had been sought after by wizards, monsters, Saiyans, and more. Bobbidi bibbidi, they aimed to control something they didn't understand. All he knew was how to be influenced by people. For the first time, he understood that he didn't have to be controlled. He had been accepted by a group of people who didn't seek to just use him. Instead, he could grow, seeing parts of them reflected in him. This was the most introspective Buu had ever been, but he was content, although part of him missed having future Goku around. Buu ripped off all the clothing that belonged to Moro or whoever else, leaving only the cape he had when he was originally Fat Buu. Goku turned to look at Buu, surprised to not see him eat. He was going to bring him something, but Beerus was ahead of him. Without a word, without looking at him, Beerus handed Buu the pudding. The Majin was surprised, but didn't waste time in eating the whole thing. Buu had really changed from the mindless monster he used to be. Now, he was a bit of every one of his friends, and he was okay with that, as long as he got to choose what being Majin Buu meant. To celebrate, and maybe even to annoy Bulma, Buu gestured up, causing lava to spew from the backyard of Capsule Corp, instantly getting turned into chocolate, as Buu and Beerus rushed in to see who could eat more. And so, years passed on by. Goku and Vegeta continued to have adventures, having a fateful meeting with a Cerealian named Granola, the mastery of Ultra Instinct, and the discovery of Ultra Ego. Buu's time on Earth was peaceful. He still helped Goku and Vegeta train, and Whis was even more interested in him after he absorbed Moro. An evil wizard and a sacred Kai making up an agent of chaos was quite interesting. And, thanks to the Grand Kai's wisdom, Buu was able to help Broly control his power little by little, only because Broly promised him a fight afterwards. Gohan was also more interested in training with him. The many times Buu reminded him of just how strong he was inspired him to train more, trying to find his own technique. Super Buu's name was known around the world. Just like Mr. Satan, he was considered a hero. And for at least a few minutes, every person on Earth got to see a perfect life. Many asked Buu to recreate that for them, but Mr. Satan always used it as a chance to give a speech and say that a perfect life is the one you're living in now. You have to make your own paradise. The words of these heroes stuck around the mind of a certain doctor as he tried to create his paradise by making superheroes. Buu was training with everyone at Beerus' planet when the events of the movie went down. Buu was happy to relax and just watch the fights. It isn't long until they realize that Whis' staff is ringing, but by then it's too late. Cell Max was defeated. Upon hearing that there was trouble on Earth, Buu sensed for powerful energy, realizing there was some kind of monster down there. Before Goku and Vegeta could stop him, he teleported to Earth, only to see that the monster was Gohan. He felt a strange sense of pride upon seeing him. Many years ago, when he absorbed him to defeat Frieza, Buu sensed an innate beastly power within Gohan, and finally, it looked as if he achieved it. But above that, seeing Pan run up to Gohan and hug him made him ponder something. He had a family and his friends, sure, but what if he had one of his own? Buu disappeared for a good long while. No one but Mr. Satan saw him, and he explained that Buu had locked himself away at the library. And by the way, this happens in Dragon Ball Online and Xenoverse, I'm not making this up. Buu knew about Mr. Satan's book, Bob and Margaret's Forbidden Games, and with some inspiration from it, inspired by relationships such as Goku's with Chi-Chi, Bulma's with Vegeta, and Gohan with Videl, Super Buu created a wife for himself. Miss Buu was lovely, though she did have the temperament similar to Buu himself. Not even a month passed before they realized they were a little lonely and wanted to welcome more into their family. Buu had heard about the World Martial Arts Tournament coming up and arrived at Goku's house while him, Goten, and Pan trained. The Saiyans were surprised to not only see Buu, but for him to be accompanied by a smaller version of himself. Buu introduced him as Oob. He didn't speak much and he had quite an attitude. Him and Pan were already staring each other down and Goten was a little scared. Goku took Buu aside and told him that maybe it's not the best idea to have him enter the World Tournament. It's mostly going to be normal people. If his kid is anything like him, he's going to be real troublesome.
Are you trying to sabotage my offspring so Pan can win?
Goku denied this, but Buu continued to press him. In reality, he just wanted to really fight Goku. A yell from Goten made them stop, turning around to see Oob and Pan already fighting. And although Oob was clearly stronger, Pan had much more control over her abilities and was a more experienced martial artist. This gave Goku an idea, telling Buu that having a son is about much more than just having a little person look like you. It's about passing on what you've learned, so they can be even better. Buu cocked an eyebrow. I want to train him, alongside Pan. Just imagine it. Imagine how strong they can be. Imagine the challenges they could give us. Buu didn't know how to respond at first, but slowly a smile turned on his face. He could still feel a part of Goku within himself, and the prospect of his son becoming even stronger than he is excited him, and said that he'd do it. Buu turned to Goku and said,
If they want to fight so badly, why don't we show them how it's really done?
It's been a long time since we fought seriously, huh? There was fire behind each other's eyes. Buu owed so much to Goku, and he knew the best way to repay him was by having a good battle. They knew where to go, the only place that could last under their immense pressure. They placed their hands on their family and teleported to the Kaioshin realm, onto never-ending battles. Thanks for watching, everyone. That was my what-if theory of what if Super Buu was good. It was a lot of fun, and I have to give a huge thank you to the supporters of the channel. You can check out videos such as this early on my Patreon. In fact, the next part of what if Goku was turned into an android and the first part of what if Bardock was sent to the future are both up on Patreon. Thank you guys so much as always. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at SmugStickDB, and if you're looking for more Dragon Ball content, be sure to check out my video about how Launch was in fact not forgotten by Toriyama. He just thought he forgot her. See you guys there!